Welcome, everybody. Hey, if you do, you'll want to get caught up. That's why we post the show all 3 hours. In fact, upon not only our own website, ESPNTallahassee.com, but also on iTunes upon the conclusion of the program. Go find it. Brought to you with limited commercial interruption. CarltonDean.com, the website for that. Email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. Find me on Twitter at @JCameronShow. The WTSM app is great for all your mobile devices. We're on YouTube. You can watch us perform the program if you so choose. Go there, type in ESPN Tallahassee, and you're good to go. Just like we're good to go. Welcome back, football, eh? Good start for the city of Tallahassee. Good start. Florida A&M with a huge win. Lopsided affair, never close. That's a start. Now Florida State got to do their part. Hopefully in Atlanta that gets done as Florida State-Bama is set. The one that all the college football world is ready to watch and has been ready to watch the entirety of an offseason. Man, so many platitudes, so many accolades, so many things to say about a matchup like this. Of course, you look at the game notes for both schools and almost immediately they talk about the historic nature of this season opener. And you know, it makes sense because there's never been one like it. 1 versus 3, that is. We've had top 5 matchups, but the highest ranking 2 teams to ever face one another in a season opener will happen on Saturday night. And it will happen in a, brand new stadium, one that cost over, $1 billion to build. That
may as well have been $7 billion.
It seems impossible, right? But so many cool storylines, starting with Jimbo Fisher as a former offensive coordinator for Nick Saban at LSU. And really, they've got nothing but love for one another. The two of them talk about it, and they've been asked to talk about it an awful lot, as one might expect leading up to this game. The buildup has included those conversations. Nick being asked about Jimbo Fisher being asked about Nick Saban. And, of course, they have nothing but respect for one another, but they're also the fiercest of competitors. And on the one hand, for Florida State, an opportunity here to send a resounding message with a victory in Game 1 against Alabama. For Alabama, a chance to avenge as much as you can in a regular season game a national championship loss, a heartbreaking loss at that, their first opportunity to take the field since then. A loss would be interesting, though, for Alabama. It would be the second consecutive loss for the Crimson Tide, which doesn't happen very often. It would also be to an ACC team yet again. And then that's something certainly that those of us that like to fly the flag high, Tom,
if you're
would make note of.
Hashtag Team Swaffy or
That's
something
right.
along those lines.
Team Swaffy and I will be celebrating if that were the case. But it's less about the ACC and more about Florida State, and I know that. And I know about the feelings that you felt deep down in the cockles, in the pits of your stomach this morning when you woke up and maybe walked outside, depending on where you're listening, and felt a little tinge of the football winds. I know I did. Bright and early this morning, just a little. Don't get that every day. Certainly not in August. Now, before we proceed, I should note that perhaps some of the reasons behind the football wins coming early have to do with a terrible tragedy in the state of Texas. And it is an awful, awful thing to sit back from afar and watch play out. And we have many listeners from all over the country, some of whom are, in fact, in Houston, who have reached out to the program in the past. Many others who perhaps haven't reached out but just find themselves in a terrible situation, and one that is dire indeed. And if you're listening to us in the state of Texas, whether that's Houston or anywhere else that's been greatly affected, just know our thoughts are with you. We send you nothing but love and wish for your safety and Godspeed. I certainly hope everybody there finds their way to safety. It's tough, because on the one hand, let's be honest, we're all so pumped for football, and I've got a radio show to do. It's an entertaining show. It's a show that is built around the energy we feel and the love we feel for college football as a whole, football and sports in general. But admittedly, I don't like to look the other way when so many others are suffering on this week in which the big stage is set for college football and it returns. So we're thinking about you. We are. I won't dwell on it. I won't spend too much time on it, but I wanted you to know in the opener that indeed our thoughts are with you, and I hope so much that you guys, again, get what you need in terms of safety and resources. Tough times for many of those folks. All right, moving forward, From a football standpoint, Jimbo Fisher holds press conference today. Rather subdued, I might note. I don't know what to make of that. Ordinarily, I do. Traditionally, I take a look at that press conference. I look at body language, look at tone, tenor, you name it, and I find a way to glean something from it over the years of covering him. I've interviewed him now for 10 years, and of course, as a head coach going into his 8th season, I've had opportunities to talk to him in both the role of OC, head coach in waiting, and now head coach for many seasons. And usually I can get a vibe. I couldn't get one here today, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Probably doesn't mean much of anything. I can understand why both coaches would downplay this because it has been probably exhausting for both to have to answer the questions that surround this football game the entirety of an offseason when much of what you're just trying to do is get your team ready, prepared to play not just a game, but a season, a bunch of football games, many of which are going to matter in their own conference more, quite frankly, than this one does. And getting your guys to understand the magnitude of this game isn't very difficult. They know who they're playing. They know who sits across from them. But getting them to understand where they have to get to be able to play a game like this, but also the games that follow. So Jimbo has been interesting this offseason. I think by and large, what I take from his press conferences, my interviews, conversations with him at the ACC kickoff, as well as the one-on-one I did a couple of weeks ago for Sirius, I get the sense that you have a confident head coach, a coach who feels good about how hard his team has worked, a coach that feels that the investment and the sacrifice that's necessary to ready yourself mentally and physically has been made by this team, unlike last year's team, which he was frustrated by. I don't think he feels that frustration. Of course, every coach this time of year is somewhat pensive about what their team's going to look like, especially when there's a juggernaut on the other side in game one. You can't know completely, and he admitted that. I asked him that question, whether a team can take ownership and show their resolve early on to be great, the way he described 2013 teams being ready to be great early in the process. I think that was in retrospect that he recognized that. He could go back upon the season's conclusion and go, there were telltale signs. I don't think he knew it in the moment because he couldn't know what Jameis Winston was going to be back in 2013. He could have an inkling, but he couldn't know till the lights were brightest. I don't think he knows in full just what this team is. He knows they're loaded with talent. They're loaded with experience, but the top 3 receivers on this football team have never had to make plays consistently and be the guys the way these 3 are going to have to be this year. Jacques Patrick has not had to be the man. Cam Akers has not had to be the man. Amir Rasul has not had to be the man. So a lot of question marks on offense with guys that have ability, elite ability at that, but they're being asked to do much more. There are some familiarities, too, though, that he could rely on and does feel good about. His quarterback, obviously. I think he feels pretty good about many of the offensive linemen, and certainly he feels good about that defense.
Yeah, to me, I think there might be a bit of a blessing in disguise that so many players have so much to prove, just in general. It's not about proving it against Alabama. It's that, this is your time to shine. For Jacques Patrick, he's been here buried on the depth chart. I'm sure he feels pretty good about himself and what he brings to the table, but you had a program record setter in front of you. So what are you going to do about that? And so I think from a motivational standpoint, these guys are going to be ready to go, obviously. What Jimbo needs to do is something that, we can't do ourselves as fans, which is don't play the game too early. How many times have we fans already played the game out in our mind? 50, 100? How many times have we gone through those emotions? Several. We've gone through that range of emotion because we're ready to go. This has been one of the larger buildups. I thought Ole Miss was big last year, but this has been one of those major buildups. And so it feels like there's this night before kind of calm before
the storm.
This whole thing happens. And it's been weeks long. I'm ready to play. I want to go play the game.
Yeah. Well, you'd like to get the question marks erased and know something definitive. And it's a little unfair because oftentimes we'll draw conclusions after week 1 that we carry over and believe are going to be the norm for the weeks that follow. And that's not always the case. But I get what you're saying. You'd like to know who's ready to go. Who's ready to play big-time football and carry this team, and to what heights can they reach?
What I'm also saying, too, there's a timed release element. The coaching staff needs to know when to let them loose and when to reel the players back in.
Yeah, it's not till Saturday night.
But even in the week of practice, what day do you have to be your most intense? It's just, I don't know how hyped up the players are for this game. I know how everybody else in the world is, in the college football world is about this game. But that's going to be a unique challenge, I think, for the defense because they bring back a lot of experience. So it's time to show and prove. They played a lot of top-end talent. But for the offense, you know what? I think it's going to take care of itself because a lot of these guys are making their true debuts. They want to be the men. They want to be the cornerstones of this football program. Even DeAndre Francois, it's his first chance to be the leader as the guy. No more veterans above him. Dalvin Cook's not going to be in that locker room speaking to players. It's got to be on 12 to take the mantle. So here's your first chance, and it's a big one.
It's a great one, and it's a fun game, too, because you're armed with the knowledge that, listen, you win this game could be the catalyst for a run to the college football playoff, which is where everybody would like to see Florida State get back to. Obviously, if you're Noel listening to this, you're right there with us on that front. If you're just a college football fan, you love the matchup because obviously it touts two of the premier programs in all of college football. But you're also armed with the knowledge, speaking of which, that a loss here doesn't end those dreams of reaching the college football playoff. A loss here doesn't mean you're doomed to not reach your goal. So these kinds of games with the expansion of a college football playoff to 4 teams, and because it's not a conference game, can allow for the greatness of a game like this while also the devastation that usually follows when you have a primetime matchup of this sort to not be as heavy or lingering an effect as it usually is that accompanies a game like this. So Florida State or Alabama, for that matter, the loser of this game, obviously as long as neither gets beaten like a drum, is still in a place where they could right the ship. And if you win the game, as I said before, it could be a huge catalyst to really allowing greater wiggle room.
It's just a really weird feeling to it. It's like a bowl game times 100 because with a bowl game, there's uncertainty. You know, to start a season, there's much greater uncertainty.
Bowl games are exhibitions if you're not in the playoff, and you can lose it and it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't carry over. This is a game that counts.
But it's hard to exactly. But it's hard to know what you're going to get in a bowl game. You know, motivation and all that kind of stuff if you're not playing in a playoff. But even then, usually it's 2 conferences meet up for the first time, and so you've been watching a lot of Pac-12 football all season long and a lot of SEC football. But what do they look like when they're together? You don't really get that chance until the playoff. And then Alabama, shuts out Washington. You don't get to see a lot of Big Ten and ACC football meet on one football field. Clemson shuts out Ohio State. So, there's the feeling out factor. We know from a recruiting standpoint that the athletes are on par. But it's just, again, from a hype standpoint and you don't know what you're going to get standpoint, this feels like a bowl game on steroids. But it just so happens that, whoever wins, whoever loses, you know what? You've got 11 more to play before you can even think about the postseason.
Rather enjoyed the weekend that was in that obviously you could lay back and enjoy some of the other college football games without the nerves that you feel inside when your team's playing a night game against the likes of Alabama. You could watch some of those other games, and in doing so, I'm reminded of just how much, as everybody I'm sure was, how much you love college football. The games themselves, most of which that you wanted to watch, turned out to be fairly lopsided and not a lot of fun. I mean, if you stayed up late, then you watched Stanford beat Rice 62-7. South Florida got off to a terribly slow start, eye-opening as it was. Once they awoke, righted the ship, dropped 28 second-quarter points on San Jose State, and that was Katie bar the door as they go on to dominate 42-22. You had the Colorado State game that I was most looking forward to, and it turned out to be a disastrous third quarter for Oregon State as Colorado State really put a number on them in that quarter and changed the complexion of that football game and went on to cruise. FAMU, I thought, looked like a team that was going to win by 50 points early in the game, but stubbed their toe, made some decisions, I thought, early in the game that ran counter to what they should have been doing. I wanted them to run the football. It looked like they had the edges all day running the football. They still were hell-bent on throwing, but settled down and ended up dominating the line of scrimmage and winning that football game going away.
Yeah, so did the gentleman in the booth. He couldn't stop saying you should just run the football.
Well, you know what? It's funny. I'm sorry, Tom. You bring that up. I didn't. I had the mute on.
Oh,
I was
really?
actually doing stuff around the house. But what was funny, I got a text from a buddy of mine watching the game, and he's like, "Why aren't they running?" And I was screaming that at the television every time I look up. Well, when I put the game on with the sound on and settled in the middle of the second quarter, I heard him say that like 6 times. Well, it was fairly obvious. I mean, you didn't have to be a football Mensa to. I'll give you that. I think he was allowed to kind of hang in there longer than he would have, especially, let me just say this, the sparring partners for Mayweather would have given him a better fight if we were actually talking about a fight, a real fight. Because there was no punching power for Conor McGregor.
Zero
punching power. Doesn't possess it. It's a different deal. And I think for people who don't watch boxing or have not boxed, they don't recognize that. And then you see it. You watch it play out and you go, wow.
The other thing I think was on full display by the end of the fight was just how different a boxer is than an MMA fighter.
10 rounds and, obviously.
the sheer numbers of it, I get you. They add up versus the 3 to 5 rounds in MMA. But still, at the same time, McGregor is how many years? Mayweather's junior?
Yeah.
11? Yeah. So there you go. It's like Tom Brady and Luke Kuechly, if they were able to do something on an equal playing field, and Kuechly's falling out. That just doesn't make sense, except if you know how good a shape you have to be in to be a professional boxer.
Also, again, the thing we noted about that fight, and then I'm going to move on from it, and it's once the rules were established that was the way they were going to fight, there was never going to be, outside of a puncher's chance, and even then a very slim one, which is why I largely ignored the fight, for Conor McGregor to win. Now, I'll say this, and I'll concede this, that if they were in the octagon, it might be very, very different, especially if Conor McGregor got a hold of him. He's quite a bit bigger. He's got the much longer reach. He could probably do some serious damage, and maybe in that fight long before, they got ever close to anything the equivalent of a 10th round. I believe that, but given the governing body and where that was going to take place, this was never going to be much of a fight. I do think Mayweather was smart to some degree to understand that even though you could maybe get him out of there by the 6th round or 7th round, their plan was obviously to sit back and let Conor McGregor tire himself out with nothing punches and then and move on.
Yeah, the round previous to the one where he's actually TK'd, he goes for it in the first 30 seconds, and that's all he's got left.
That's the end of it. And he knows the longer this goes on, the less of a chance. Anyhow, the point would be that I think it was smart to allow, if you're trying to satiate the public and ever put on another kind of fight like this, then you've got to let it go on and on and on and on, linger. You can't just...
I heard speculation today on our favorite morning show that if this fight, in a post-fight, that McGregor now carries the biggest star in combat sports.
Yeah, sure.
And if he wanted to put the boxing gloves on again, then he would command the most money.
Not a good idea.
If he went against anybody close to his age in that weight class, anybody.
Well, and somebody who had real punching power.
Yes.
Boxing punching power.
Who would be considered the underdog.
He'd get destroyed.
It's over under 1.5, 2 rounds.
No, it would be over very quickly.
Even for light punchers, like this weight class would be.
Yeah, no. Good night, Irene. But I'll say this: if you're branding, if you're the guy that is in favor and in charge of Conor McGregor's future, you cash in now. You go ahead and get rich as hell all right now because he did better than most people thought. I'll concede that. He hung around longer, better than the general public really thought he had a chance.
Well, his champions are, yes, that's all they're saying. They went from, he could win the fight to, well, he did better than I thought. Lovely.
But you knew, but
it's a nice sleight of hand he got there.
But I think anybody being honest kind of knew that's how that was going to go.
Yeah, they saw something else is what they saw.
Maybe. I think, there's certainly an element of that. There's also, it's very easy to hate Floyd Mayweather. I was going to say, let's not paint him to be...
No, he's a POS.
He's a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I was going to say, I'm not making him some sort of hero here. No. But he was always going to win. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough. like a state of mind. Tough like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Parts with a 4-year warranty starting at just $49.99. And at TNT, our service center and service technicians are trained, certified, and authorized for every brand we sell.
And there's plenty of parts and accessories too, right?
Our parts inventory is huge, and we'll dress up your existing car with a full line of Mad Jack's premium accessory products like seat kits, light kits, lift kits, and now for a limited time, save 20% on all Mad Jack's parts and accessories.
TNT Supercenter US 19 South next to Dairy Queen in Thomasville and online at TNTSupercenter.com.
This year's Kingfish Tournament is in the books. Although the weather wasn't the best, over 55 boaters registered for the tournament, and Sea Quarters Marina would like to thank everyone that came out. $50,000 was raised for leukemia research this year, which brings the total to $915,000 over 14 years. The winning kingfish, caught by Team Bill Collector, weighed 47 pounds, and the winning Spanish mackerel, caught by Team Neil Brooks Electric, weighed 5 pounds. Additionally, fishermen donated approximately 1,000 pounds, which will be sold to raise funds for leukemia research. Sea Quarters Marina hopes to see you at the 2018 Kingfish Tournament.
Bama versus FSU.
Down the sidelines, touchdown, Seminoles, rumbling all the way to the end zone, touchdown, Bama.
ESPN Tallahassee's Jeff Cameron is headed to Atlanta for Bama Beatdown. Brought to you by Fred Conrad, criminal defense lawyer. Remember, don't blow it. Call 222-4005.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a crystal ball winning catch.
He's looking, he wants it to the end zone. It's Benjamin! Touchdown! With 13 seconds left.
The 97.9 ESPN radio special is a must-have every Monday and Wednesday at the corner pocket. 10 mouth-watering wings, a fresh side of fries, and a chilled domestic pint of beer are just $9.79 all day long. Be sure and try the fish blend of sauces, a true wing eater's favorite. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone!
Home of Trivia Tuesday, Beer Bingo Thursday, and the daily $7.99 lunch special.
We have more cars than we had last year. You want to put some up here? Then we're going to need a crane again.
Yes, that was me, Chris Kraft, up on the roof of the dealership last week looking for a place to store our overflow inventory. But this year we have the perfect storm here at Kraft Nissan because while we have over 400 cars and trucks on the ground, it is also our model year closeout. And everyone knows that the best deals on new cars come when a dealer needs to move inventory. Combine that with model year-end closeout incentives and you get the perfect storm of huge savings. And my managers are threatening to keep me up on the roof until we sell a bunch of cars and trucks. So make me a reasonable offer. I'll do whatever it takes to get myself off the roof. Like 0% interest for 6 years on America's #1 selling SUV, the Nissan Rogue, and up to $5,300 in total savings on the red-hot Nissan Altima, or take up to $10,500 off MSRP on the Nissan Titan with America's best factory truck warranty, 5 years or 100,000 miles, bumper to bumper. And as always, our exclusive lifetime warranty. And they wonder why Tallahassee is a Nissan town, a Kraft Nissan town. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Your floors are under attack, from overwatered plants to overflowing dog bowls. But the Home Depot has water-resistant Pergo Outlast Plus laminate flooring, starting at just $279 a square foot. So you and your floors get to fight back with 24-hour spill protection that stands up to liquids for a whole day without damage. The next generation of laminate flooring is Pergo Outlast Plus, starting at just $279 a square foot, exclusively from the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only.
You're locked in with the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Game week, kiddos. You know what I won't do? I won't engage with ESPN Stats and Info Heisman hopefuls discussion. No, won't do it. But I will take on the goodness that leads us towards Redemption Thursday. That's right, Redemption Thursday returns this week. It is back. I've got time to settle in, figure that out. Check out Vegas. Florida State, Bama, Michigan, Florida, Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, UCLA. Under the tint of suspicion. NC State, South Carolina. Oh, you forgot about NC State, South Carolina, did you?
I mean, that's of moderate interest, is it not?
Especially in this region of the world, right? We'll be watching that. At this point, like I said, I could find interest in almost every college football game. If you're wondering just about that top 25, surely you've done your checking. You start on Thursday. Catch you unawares?
No, that's Ohio State, Indiana. Is that right?
It's one of two games, Tom. Let's not shortchange anything on Thursday, pal. We got two top 20 teams participating, two top 10 teams participating on a Thursday night, a redemption Thursday night. Oklahoma State's taking on Tulsa, lest you forget. Touchdown Cowboys.
Touchdown Cowboys.
Ohio State, Indiana out of the Big Ten. Then Friday night, Washington, Rutgers. And then Camp Randall hosts Utah State and Wisconsin.
Did you see that ESPN is doing a megacast for Ohio State and Indiana?
That's odd.
Yeah. If they're testing it for Saturday night prime times to all get megacasts, I'm all for it. If they don't want to announce that,
right.
And I don't know anything, this isn't me hinting. But if that's their logic, then great. But if you're testing it so that you can use it in the playoff or the national championship, who cares? You know, that's a lot of time in between. Why don't you test it for a game that we all care about? So hopefully logic prevails here, and they're doing that because they want every primetime football game to have a megacast.
Any chance that on Saturday at around noon, as we ready ourselves for the big clash that evening, you're somewhere watching at a bar out there, listeners, Maryland and Texas, thinking, this has gotten kind of interesting here midway through the third.
It could be.
Just little games that you kind of, that's a nooner. A little sleepy nooner.
Well, you know what? Even if nooners are sleepy, it's a sleepy time during the day. Even if it is 24-7, in the second quarter. Hey, it's a nooner. It's on television. It's white noise. I'm going to check on it every once in a while.
Well, you're waiting on 3:30 Florida, Michigan, and you're waiting. By the way, Michigan favored in that game by 3.5.
Okay, so that's where we're working from here.
That's where we're working from. I'm gonna take Michigan and get my 3.5. I mean, Florida and get my 3.5.
I was gonna say, wait a minute,
No.
This is the all-time.
No, I'm gonna take Florida and get my 3.5. I don't like it. I don't feel good about it. I feel like Florida's a bit of a mess.
Man, not since Hogan flipped to the NWO. If you had taken Michigan and gotten me on that, all right. So you take Florida. Wait, what?
I know. I'm. Well, and also, by the way, one of the games that I'm excited about wagering on and having fun with is a game that I think will be very, very good. But I'm not going to get to see any of it until later on, probably on Sunday. Is West Virginia, Virginia Tech. So at 7:30 at night. That's a good game.
That is a good game, and if I recall correctly, they have two 7 o'clock or 7/7:30 games.
Yeah, it's a 7:30 game. 8 o'clock is Tennessee and Georgia Tech.
Man, they don't have anything on the afternoon on Sundays. Come on, college football, take advantage of it. You can have a whole day on Sunday.
Monday is Tennessee, Georgia Tech. You were talking about Sunday?
Forgive me, yes.
Sunday, they do have West Virginia, Virginia Tech.
Then there's one other game. I forget what it is in that same time span. But, college football could put on a triple header or quadruple header or something
I agree
on
with
Sunday.
you. I wish they would. By the way, one other note, just wore the shirt last week thanks to a listener in Texas, speaking of which. Purdue is hosting Louisville. I can hope against hope, right?
Is that Saturday?
I'm sure. It's a 7:30 game, yeah.
Okay.
I think that is Saturday.
It could be a hell to the gnaw.
Well, I haven't looked at the line yet. There'll be other candidates for the hell to the gnaw. For example, UTEP is taking on Oklahoma, and I believe they're 43-point underdogs.
Oh, man.
Do we have to get the UTEP gear? No way in hell. There's your hell to the gnaw in all likelihood. Miami is not even on the board, I don't think, for Bethune-Cookman. Is Penn State on the board against Akron? I think that's 30.5.
30.5, that's it? Boy, I'm going to have to call my guy.
Call your guy, indeed. There are a lot of people calling their guy this week.
Saquon going for 6 touchdowns.
Alabama favored by a touchdown over Florida State. That feels meaty. Feels like too much. Feels like blatant disrespect, Tom Lang.
Meaty.
So Jeff Cameron, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Indeed.com/credit. That's Indeed.com/credit. Indeed, the world's #1 job site. Terms, conditions, and quality standards apply.
Parker Brothers Roofing says don't play games with your roof. Protect your home and your family. The Parker Brothers tell you the truth. We'll fix your roof, 'cause it's what we do. With quality, integrity, and pride. Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
Hey, this is Travis with Parker Brothers Roofing. No one besides us wants to hear that you need a new roof. It's one of the biggest home improvements you have to make, and Parker Brothers Roofing understands. We now offer financing for 0% over 60 months. Yes, that's 5 years. Call us today for 5 years interest-free financing on that new roof. 656-8112. That's 656-8112, or go to parkerbrothersroofing.net.
Parker Brothers Roofing, professional every time. Stay safe and dry inside.
License number CCC 049350.
The big game is almost here, but you can't afford to go because ticket prices are through the roof. Don't worry, we got your back. Anytix.com offers you the lowest price tickets, guaranteed. Anytix.com doesn't mark up tickets. Anytix.com has zero. That's right, no buyer, seller, or service fees. For a small monthly fee of $9.99, you get access to all their wholesale tickets. Go to Anytix.com today. That's Anytix, TIXX. Enter the coupon code ESPN Tally and get 20% off your subscription. Anytix.com, changing the way you buy tickets.
Noel fans, ESPN Tallahassee's official home for FSU watch parties in 2017 is Miller's Ale House on Appalachia Parkway.
Francois to throw for the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown. Seminoles are going for the win.
The ESPN Tallahassee team will be on hand for every Seminole away football game with giveaways, a chance to win some great prizes, and to have a good time.
To the pylon. He's into the end zone for an FSU touchdown.
So, when the Noles hit the road, join us at Miller's Ale House on the Parkway, the official FSU watch party headquarters of your home of the best in Seminole sports talk. 97.9 ESPN Radio, Tallahassee Sports Authority.
O'Reilly. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and purchase 5 quarts of Castrol high mileage motor oil for the same price as Castrol Conventional, just $21.95. Plus earn 100 O Rewards points when you purchase 5 quarts of Castrol high mileage motor oil. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better better prices every day. Limit supply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi, developing story. The Astros and Rangers waiting in Dallas for word from Major League Baseball on the status of their upcoming series, which is scheduled to begin tomorrow in Houston. The teams didn't travel there after games yesterday because of torrential flooding from Tropical Storm Harvey that has devastated America's fourth largest city. Houston Texans remain in Dallas and are practicing at the Cowboys training facility. Their preseason game against the Cowboys Thursday may be moved from Houston to Dallas. The Texans, Cowboys, and NFL are each donating $1 million to the United Way of Greater Houston Flood Relief Fund. The CFL's Houston Tiger Cats hired former Baylor football coach Art Briles as an assistant. Briles was fired in May of 2016 after the university's investigation of its handling of sexual assault by students, including some made against football players. The Tiger Cats own the negotiating rights to free agent quarterback Robert Griffin III, by the way. He played for Briles at Baylor. Bills traded linebacker Reggie Ragland to the Chiefs for a 2019 fourth-round draft pick. Ragland, fourth pick of former GM Doug Whaley, that's been traded by New Buffalo GM Brandon Beane.
Experience why for nearly a century men have trusted Barbasol for a close, comfortable shave. Whether it's extra moisturizing with vitamin E or soothing aloe, all you have to do is sit back and bask in the glory of your close shave. You're looking good, America. You're shaving with Barbasol.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Experamac of Tallahassee. Experamac, Tallahassee's trusted tech source for Apple. Stopping at 346 South Magnolia Drive or call at 765-2012 today.
Saturday, Nick Saban 10-0, Jimbo Fisher 7-0, unbeaten in season openers at their respective schools, writes the note. For the loser, history says bouncing back ain't gonna be easy. No team has won a national title after losing its season opener since Miami back in 1983 when they defeated Nebraska.
Fair enough, though, to say that it would be much, 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 much tougher for Florida State to climb the mountain than Alabama, because if you look at Alabama's schedule after our game, you could argue Auburn is the next most difficult game on their schedule.
Which very well may be a little bit more difficult than many are anticipating. But, I look at the game and I think, sure. But I also don't – you're right, that assessment would be correct. But I also think, and maybe I'm discrediting two very good defenses, but I don't believe Miami or NC State are capable yet of coming into Tallahassee and getting that win, given their quarterback – well, given Miami's quarterback situation. And I just, you know how I feel about Dave Doran. So I feel good about Florida State at home regardless. And then the next opportunity for a loss is either Louisville or on the road at Clemson. I don't think Florida will be able to beat Florida State at the end of the year. So, you'd worry about it. But I really like this Florida State defense. I'm probably more intrigued as we kind of take on certain talking points with this game. I think Florida State's defense, well, first of all, it ought to play really well. Let's just start with that. There's too much talent, too much depth of talent, too much size, too many ways, especially that the numbers and talent in that secondary, too many ways to take away a lot of what Alabama does well. Alabama, it's easier said than done, I understand. They're going to want to line up and run the football. And a lot of what they do is predicated on that, and that's big boy football. It's a man's game, bitch, as they say. And they're going to test your manhood right off the bat. I would think this Florida State team is capable of matching that intensity and the physicality involved in that test. It ought to be. It has that talent. It has that size. It should be. If you could take that away, and you want to take away, and again, all of this is easier said than done, but if you're going to take away an offense that a year ago threw, amongst Power 5 teams, the highest percentage of passes behind the line of scrimmage of anybody, they're going to test you out there on the outside, see if you can come up and make a tackle, see if you can fight through a block and make a tackle. But I believe our secondary is a very physical one, more than capable. Derwin being back is vital in all of these areas, of course. And you take that away, now you're asking Jalen Hurts to show you he's capable of doing something he didn't do consistently well last year. Make the big throws down the field. And two of his best targets not on this team. Now, Ridley's back, obviously, but two of his main targets, and O.J. Howard's in Tampa, are not there. I think Florida State has a chance to take away those two elements and test them in that regard, and that gets very, very interesting. What I wonder about is on the flip side is Florida State have the capability of blocking it up against Alabama and finding a semblance of a run game. And maybe that run game starts with your quarterback. But is Jimbo committed to that? Is Jimbo going to run his quarterback there to create balance and a numbers advantage? Or does he want to spread them out and throw the football early? And if so, can Florida State block it up?
You know, one way or another, whether you're talking about the offensive side of the ball or defensive side of the ball, you got to be willing to be physical in this game.
Oh, well, I mean, you can't do that, then you're going to get blown out, so that's a given.
And though it is not a buzzword of this year's camp, you know, Jimbo says he likes the team. So to me, I think what comes with that, I think
toughness, certainly.
Yeah, not just mental. I think there's a physical toughness to this group too. You know, I think the most buoying thing we could have heard out of camp was that in scrimmage 2, the offense played well. So there was some sign of development. And that's a great sign because we know how physical and nasty that defense can be when it's playing with confidence, when it knows where it needs to be, when Derwin James is on the field. So to hear that the offense, at least for an afternoon, came up and met the challenge, that tells me that we have a team on our hands potentially here that has a physical signature to it. And wouldn't that be a sight for sore eyes out the gate?
It could be a game changer, obviously. That physical element of which you speak is something the 2013 team had. I know people get tired of comparing and contrasting everything to the 2013 team, but these are elements that you can aspire to and recreate if you have the manpower. And here's what I mean by that. You're not going to be able to recreate what Jameis Winston brought you under center. You're not going to be able to recreate that. And no matter how well DeAndre Francois plays, he's not Jameis. So that's fine. But the other elements of what that team was, if you're talented enough and tough enough, you can. You can aspire to that and equal that. And that team had a real physical element to it across the board, both sides of the football. And most championship quality teams certainly do. There's a ruggedness to all of those teams. Clemson had it last year. And you know, obviously Alabama has it. And year in and year out, you see the teams that win national championships have it.
You know, frankly, I thought Clemson had it better in 2015. They had that nastiness to them.
Well, we talk about getting to the top of the mountain, coming up short, and then getting, going through the next year's schedule and having to try to get back up to that place.
We don't talk about that with Alabama, and for good reason, because they seem to climb to the top of the mountain, and that's where they belong. They're just used to being at the top.
They recruit at a different level than everybody else.
But at the same time, I mean, there has to be some level of mental fatigue, right?
Let's hope. Yeah, I hope they're exhausted.
If it exists for everybody else, I mean, Clemson should have lost 3 or could have lost 3 or 4 games last year. And you could see that it was all about getting to that game. And once they got to the moment, then, the play elevated along with, what they're capable of doing.
I think one of the great advantages that Nick has created there is certainly mental. He does a great job with that. And perhaps that is his true gift, right, is getting guys to where they need to be mentally. The physical is what he's recruiting, right? The speed, the size, the strength. He's getting those kinds of players at a higher rate than everybody else. So they're better able to reload than any other team in the country. And they can win a national championship and not really experience a dip in production or consistency because they have so many of those players. But then you infuse that with what Nick does well, which is, again, the mental preparation and the willingness to sacrifice in that arena, the way that you train your mind. And this is the stuff that Jimbo Fisher brought with him from Nick Saban at LSU. But he hasn't been able to apply it and see it play out in the way that I think he envisions, or the way that he learned it and understood it and applies it here at Florida State while he did at LSU, because he hasn't had, the depth and same caliber of recruits that Alabama has. For that matter, nobody has. So when there's a drop-off at Florida State or Ohio State or Clemson, I think, and really any of these teams that are perennial powers, they're unable to reach that level again. Whereas Alabama has in excess a staff and a talent level that nobody else typically matches.
So to return to one of the earlier questions from this afternoon, even before the show, what do you make of his demeanor today then, now that we've hashed it out and talked about some of the issues facing both teams?
Yeah, downplaying the hype around the game and staying even keel. For those that missed the press conference today with Jimbo Fisher, it was a lot of rehashing, not a lot of new items there. He did tell everybody that Matthew Thomas will be back, said that he thought he would be at practice today. The media has been locked out of practice this week. So the stranglehold on access grows tighter for Jimbo Fisher in this program right now. Florida State hasn't done that in the past. They have elevated their level of restrictions on what the media has access to currently. I think that's a disturbing trend in college football across the board, born from Nick Saban, carried on by many of his disciples. I think it's a mistake, but that's a different issue for a different time that you guys don't want me to vet currently. But that said, we won't know. We won't have any idea about what his thoughts were post-practice or anything like that because he's not going to talk to the media. But I don't know what to make of an even-keel press conference today other than it's Monday and he doesn't want to create the fervor around this game and the level of intensity around this game to go above and beyond what it already is just by the magnitude of the matchup. So he's going to stay even keel. He's going to tell his players, you can't win Saturday night's game on Monday. You can't win Saturday night's game on Wednesday. You can't win Saturday night's game on Friday, but you can lose it. That's what he's going to tell them. And I think that is just, his demeanor in that press conference is a carryover of the message.
I agree, and that's where in the opening segment we're talking about our thoughts for this week, and my brain's all over the place. It's got emotions about what we need to do here at the station, but honestly,
which is a lot.
But it's got the fans' emotions. It's about the game, what are the implications, a win, a loss, projecting out what does that do for the next couple of weeks, and what does it mean? How much would you have to do to climb back into the conversation if you lost? If you won, well, that's a great problem to have from our standpoint on air and then also as a fan. But you're right. The point I was trying to drive home while talking about 8 million things was the idea that, you can't win the game on Monday or Tuesday.
You got to.
and that's the challenge. That's the challenge that he's facing this week.
Well, you want to race forward. I mean, we want to race forward to a place where it's game day. I mean, now that it's game week, it feels, it's tangible. But you want to be at game day. But that's the emotion of a fan or sports talk radio. Whereas I think it's easier in a weird way to be a player. In many ways, you go back to whatever level you played at if you're out there listening. You remember the big games you played in, but you were really hyper-focused on your responsibilities, what you needed to get done for that week in preparation, your kind of mental checkbox and the things that you did to prepare yourself for a game. And the only real nerves that you felt and intensity of those nerves that you felt didn't happen until game day, almost right before you came out of that locker room, and everybody gets the butterflies, whatever. But whereas fans, you woke up this morning, as did I, and thought, woo, here we go. And Jimbo, he's not dealing with that. That's not that's not what a coach is thinking about, nor is a coach dealing with it, nor does he want his players to deal with.
Well, and I get it. We're up against it, too, so it's probably not a great time for a longer form question.
Well, we can come back on the other side and do it.
We got Ira, but
we can do it after Ira.
Super quick, being that you've interviewed him for 10+ years now, or 10 years. Do you think he has to stop himself and check himself when he's alone in a room and he's looking at film and he thinks about the magnitude of a matchup against a person like Nick Saban? I mean, you get how he ticks better or almost as good as anybody across the country in media, but certainly here in Tallahassee.
Do I think he has to check himself? No, I think he is. I don't. I don't think he gets emotional in that way. I think he gets. He exhausts himself in game week of big games. He's not going to sleep. He's going to look. This is your dot your I's, cross your T's week, man. And because you're and the average Joe can relate to this if they care passionately about what they do for a living, and he certainly does. When you've got a presentation or you've got a big moment at your work, or you have something like you're making a montage, or we're getting ready to do this show and there are elements that need to be in play, you know how that is, man. You just want to be sure. Preparation is everything. You just want to be sure that, okay, before we go in, we always use the example that time. I know this isn't real quick, but that time that obviously I was on SportsCenter. What were we doing? We were making sure that all of the elements were in place that we needed to be able to have success. And that nothing. We didn't talk once about what was I going to say. How did we want to present ourselves in an interview? We didn't talk once.
It was about time releasing the information. Making sure certain elements at the station were set. I needed to be sure of where I had to be, and then my source was giving me the go on when I could release it. All that stuff, none of it was about the actual execution of the SportsCenter hit. And I don't think any of this is for him, it's, okay, the game's the game, but he has to make sure the operation on game day is smooth. So he's meeting with all of his assistants. He's meeting, as he has to with the players about each of the little things. That's a good point. Maybe if you feel like writing a book someday, you can write a book about the behind the scenes of that, because it was, really.
That was a lot of fun. And I let you drive my car.
That's right. That was the thing you were most worried about the entire day.
I let you drive my brand new car from Kraft Nissan. I was like, hey, man. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Ira Schoffel, WarChant.com, joins us next.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Blountstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
But the Home Depot has water-resistant Pergo Outlast Plus laminate flooring, starting at just $279 a square foot. So you and your floors get to fight back with 24-hour spill protection that stands up to liquids for a whole day without damage. The next generation of laminate flooring is Pergo Outlast Plus, starting at just $279 a square foot, exclusively from the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only.
The Knolls are heating up, and so are the Makita deals at Cornerstone Tool & Fastener, your Big Bend Makita Pro Center. The Build Your Own Kit promo is here with many options to choose from. Buy a Makita Dual Base Starter Kit with bag, 2 5-amp-hour batteries, and pick your 2 bare tools. Cornerstone Tool & Fastener, your professional and serious do-it-yourself shop. 1110 Stuckey Ave, Tallahassee, or 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Call them at 580-1200 in Tallahassee or 926-1144 in Crawfordville. Online at CTF.NU.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a crystal ball winning catch.
He's looking, he lost it to the end zone. It's Benjamin! Touchdown! With 13 seconds left.
The 97.9 ESPN radio special is a must-have every Monday and Wednesday at the corner pocket. 10 mouth-watering wings, a fresh side of fries, and a chilled domestic pint of beer are just $9.79 all day long. Be sure and try the fish blend of sauces, a true wing eater's favorite. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone!
Home of Trivia Tuesday, Beer Bingo Thursday, and the daily $7.99 lunch special.
Got a paint project you haven't started? Now's the time to begin. The Home Depot has Behr Premium Plus interior paint starting at just $23.97. It's a paint and primer in one, so you're not covering the same wall over and over. You paint it, then move on to the next one. We're pouring more into paint with unbeatable prices on Behr Premium Plus interior paint, now starting at just $23.97. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. U.S. only. See store for details.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi, developing story. The Astros and Rangers waiting in Dallas for word from Major League Baseball on the status of their upcoming series, which is scheduled to begin tomorrow in Houston. The teams didn't travel there after games yesterday because of torrential flooding from Tropical Storm Harvey that has devastated America's fourth largest city. Houston Texans remain in Dallas and are practicing at the Cowboys training facility. Their preseason game against the Cowboys Thursday may be moved from Houston to Dallas. The Texans, Cowboys, and NFL are each donating $1 million to the United Way of Greater Houston Flood Relief Fund. The CFL's Houston Tiger Cats hired former Baylor football coach Art Briles as an assistant. Briles was fired in May of 2016 after the university's investigation of its handling of sexual assault by students, including some made against football players. The Tiger Cats own the negotiating rights to free agent quarterback Robert Griffin III, by the way. He played for Briles at Baylor. Bills traded linebacker Reggie Ragland to the Chiefs for a 2019 fourth-round draft pick. Ragland, fourth pick of former GM Doug Whaley, that's been traded by New Buffalo GM Brandon Beane.
Experience why for nearly a century men have trusted Barbasol for a close, comfortable shave. Whether it's extra moisturizing with vitamin E or soothing aloe, all you have to do is sit back and bask in the glory of your close shave. You're looking good, America. You're shaving with Barbasol.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Experimag of Tallahassee. Experimag, Tallahassee's trusted tech source for Apple. Stop in at 346 South Magnolia Drive or call at 765-2012 today.
Number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great Monday, you and yours. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free, as always. And if you miss anything, we'll post it both on iTunes and in our own audio vault, so you can get caught up. Email the show if you like. It's jcs at 979ESPNradio.com. Find me on Twitter at JCameronShow. WTSM app, good for your mobile devices. Appreciate that as well. And I would invite you to watch on YouTube, ESPN Tallahassee on YouTube. Hey, every Monday we get an opportunity to talk to our good buddy, Ira Schoffel, warchant.com, the website. It's football season. We welcome back Ira in now. Hello, good sir.
Hey, man, we finally made it.
Woo! You think Corey cares now? Do you think maybe?
I think he could be bothered at this point.
How are you, brother? It's exciting times. Another season.
I'm good, man. It's almost surreal because, like you guys talked about in the first hour and, Jimbo talked about at the press conference, it's rare that you have a game that you open up with where there's been this much talk. I mean, yeah, Ole Miss was a big game sort of, but Oklahoma State, there was some hype going into that game, but the years when they played Miami, but this is something different.
It is something different, and it feels different. It's certainly a game that Florida State obviously want to win because it could be a catalyst for a magical season. And yet, as a coach, you can tell Jimbo Fisher is sort of trying to downplay the magnitude of this game and the hype surrounding it. And I get why a coach would do that, too. Did you glean that from the press conference today? I watched it here from the studio, and I felt like he was very, very sort of even keel. Wasn't trying to get too high with the hype surrounding this game.
Oh, yeah, without question. And I think, he's kind of had to, ride the natural progression of preseason. You come into preseason camp and everybody's so excited. There's no point in even trying to calm things down. And then in the middle of it, I think, you're trying to kind of get through the dog days. So I think the coaches are trying to find ways to motivate players. So they certainly don't want to downplay anything at that point. But now, yeah, that it's here, it's funny. I was talking, not to name drop, but I was doing a story and I'm interviewed Brian McFadden, and he was talking about the first time he played in the Super Bowl, and he got to play in 3 Super Bowls. He was very lucky, but he said the first time he played in the Super Bowl, he almost passed out before the game. Like literally couldn't, just over hyperventilated. And the next two times he played, you know, his normal traditions might be listening to rap music or things like that to get fired up for a game. Before the other two Super Bowls, he tried to listen to things to kind of calm him down, because keeping your emotions in check in a game like this is as important as anything.
Players tend to exhaust themselves. They run out of fuel in a hurry because the adrenaline is such. I've never played in a game of this magnitude, obviously, but anybody who's played any level of organized sports that involved a championship or a big game in their mind knows what I'm talking about. You get yourself and your mind hyped to a level to where you can play at almost a fever pitch, and yet you realize that if you're too hyped up, within 15 minutes of the game starting, you're exhausted. You're trying to find your second win, and I think coaches are very fearful in games like this, and Jimbo Fisher has expressed this before, of guys doing that, and they call that playing the game on Friday or playing the game on Saturday morning when it's a Saturday night game, or playing the game on Wednesday, and you just can't do that. So he's trying to, I think, certainly calm his team down heading into this thing.
Well, I think the perfect example in recent history was the FSU game against Oklahoma, the one at Doak.
Yeah.
When FSU's players before that game and down on the field, first of all, the atmosphere of that game, it was the first time in a long time that Doak had rocked like that, and the players, man, they were just going nuts before the game, interacting with the students. The students got there like 2 hours early. Everybody was so fired up. And yeah, I think after the game, in hindsight, the coaching staff felt like that's what happened, that FSU's players, Oklahoma's players kind of had been there recently, and FSU hadn't. And Oklahoma, I think they felt like handled it leading up to the game in a better way.
All right, so what else did you glean from, say, the depth chart or anything else that Coach Fisher had to say today? What were your thoughts on what you got from that?
I think from the depth chart perspective, I thought there were a couple of somewhat interesting things. I mean, clearly, a quarterback. I mean, all the speculation about what would happen if anything happened to DeAndre Francois, I think that depth chart only amplifies that. It looks, they listed 3 guys as the possible backup: J.J. Cosentino, James Blackman, or Bailey Hockman. Well, one of those guys is a fourth-year junior. If he's not listed as the clear-cut number 2, then that's obviously a great sign about those true freshmen, Hockman and Blackman, but also not a real good sign for J.J. So, and again, James Blackman, who Jimbo's been real high on throughout camp and we've seen is very impressive. He was listed first of those 3 guys, so he may be the backup, which is, again, one of those things coming into camp I don't think anyone would have predicted. Other than that, a lot of those things are you can read some things into things, but, at running back, there was 3 guys listed behind Jacquez Patrick, but honestly, they probably could have listed 4 or 5. I think Laybourne and Zaquandre White weren't listed, but I wouldn't be surprised if they got on too. And on that topic, I thought Jimbo, I asked him, is there a set plan for how you're going to get those backup running backs the ball? And he said, yeah, there is. And I think my guess is the first quarter or 2, he's going to have a pretty clear-cut idea of what he wants to do, who he's going to use at running back. And then in the second half, I think it's going to be based on how those guys performed in the first half.
Ira, I guess tomorrow you will get access to Jimbo after practice. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we usually don't get him on Monday, but we will on Tuesday. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to get him tomorrow. Can I put in a request? I know we don't usually do this, but I'm going to ask a request. So I want you to, if you could, instead of asking a question one way, I want you to phrase it another. This is the way I want it phrased. How did Matthew Thomas look today in pads?
That's how you want me to ask it?
Yeah, I don't want you to ask.
No ambiguity.
No, I want you to ask specifically, how did he practice today in pads?
Tuesday's obviously the big day, man. It's the big hitting day.
All right. So that's what I want.
That would be a big deal.
That way, there's no dancing at that point, right? Because either he did or he didn't. So that's it. That's the I want. Hey, Coach, how did Matthew Thomas play today in pads and all? Just however you want. Make sure you get that out there. I want to see what he says to that, and then I'll feel very, very good about everything.
Well, depending on the answer.
Well, one way or the other, I think we'll get to know what we need to know, and then we'll go from there. Although I am curious on that note. Today he said that he thought Matthew Thomas would practice. He wasn't sure, but he thought he would practice today. I am curious to see how much we see him in this game on Saturday night, because whether or not he practices today or tomorrow, whenever, he certainly has missed an awful lot of time.
Yeah, I think there's no question from an assignment standpoint, I'm sure he would be fine. I mean, the guy has played in this defense now for, 4 or 5 years, at least practiced in it for 4 or 5 years. I can't imagine there's a whole lot that he needs to know or learn about playing the position. The biggest, issue I think would just be in terms of reps at tackling, shedding blocks. I mean, just the football's such a game of repetition. As well as any more than most of us, because you did play high school and some college. It's a game of repetition, and you can't just kind of show up out there just because you know what to do and you're a good athlete, be able to do it. So this week will be big. I mean, I don't think if he misses today, every snap he misses, I think shortens that window of his opportunity. But I do think if he practices all week, I still think he could play a major role in this game.
Yeah, it's a funny game, too, because on the one hand, I've looked at this and I've thought, last week and the week before, I talked about this almost as a far-flung hope that Florida State could win. And I have gotten to where I'm going to confess I feel better about their chances waking up on a Monday. I don't know if that's the emotion of game week or the fandom that seeps in or whatever it is. But I do think, as I talked through it in my mind, the idea was, you take away a lot of those short passes and you stop the running game, easier said than done against Alabama. You put Alabama in an interesting situation because they're not accustomed in all of these first games of the year that we talk about Bama having so much success, and they haven't played too many teams that have anywhere close to the same amount of talent as they do, and Florida State does have that. Do you get a good I'm asking you to kind of give an opinion here and not be a reporter, but just your thoughts on kind of how you see this game as we are here at game week, and I'm feeling better already.
Yeah, I think it really does come down to whether or not they can handle the running game. I mean, I don't want to oversimplify it.
Yeah, but sometimes it is that simple. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if FSU can handle the running game, again, sort of like Clemson did, and it's obviously it'll be different because Scarborough likely will be healthy, but and then they have other options. But if they can handle the running game to where they don't have to cheat up so much, and they can play the pass straight up, and you don't just get burned by play action, then I like FSU's chances. Even, I think offensively, I'm not, obviously, nobody's bullish on FSU's offensive line right now. I doubt anybody on the team is, but especially going up against Alabama in the season opener. But I think Jimbo can help them out. I think DeAndre can help them out. I think they're going to be better up the middle, so DeAndre won't get as much pressure in his face the way he did at times last year. So I think that's going to work itself out. I really think, even though the strength of this team is defense, I really think it's going to come down to whether or not they can control that running game. And if they can, man, I think they got a great chance because I think Hurts will be better than he was a year ago, but I still don't think he's a guy that's going to just drop back and read coverages.
I think it's absolutely huge. I think that's the whole game, and it sounds so simple. If you can stop Damian Harris, if you can stop Bo Scarborough, I think you've got a very good chance to certainly put yourself in a position to win the game in the fourth quarter. Because if we're being really honest, here's the deal with Alabama. Even in games in which they don't play well, even in games in which they seem to be having a segment on the team that is getting exposed, they're always in it in the fourth quarter. They're always in it in the fourth quarter. Of all their losses, they're all close. So I think even if Florida State has an advantage in an area, I think you'll see by the fourth quarter that it's within a score. And I think it's why everybody gets so nervous, because even when you seem to have Bama down, they're in it, and that's that depth of talent. And that's also the extraordinary coaching of Nick Saban.
Yeah, and I think, one of the other things I asked Jimbo about, today, and he's talked about it a lot, is just the familiarity of the coaching staffs and kind of how you handle that. And I think that is, again, I kind of reflect on Coach Andrews. I remember him saying this all the time, that you just have to be careful as a coach about chasing ghosts and overanalyzing things and trying to guess too much what the other team is going to do. And I think that's extremely important in a game like this because, again, they know each other's tendencies, and you just don't want to get too carried away with being too cute because you can coach yourself out of a game like this just as fast as you can coach yourself into it.
Do you think that this is without question? You know how last year I love to bring up havoc rate? You know how I like to do that. Mm-hmm. And both teams are top 20 in havoc rate, et cetera. But in Alabama, top 10. Do you think both defenses are going to dominate Saturday night?
I don't think so, man. I really don't.
Or you think it's going to be wide open? Okay.
I just think I think these teams are going to move the ball. I mean, I think that you've got a lot of really good skill players on both sides of the ball. I mean, it's funny, everybody talks about how great this offensive backfield is, and it's impressive, for FSU. But, Alabama's running backs are
very,
as good
very
as
good.
anybody every year. And then you add in the offensive line. Then you talk about the Calvin Ridley kid, the Jerry Jeudy kid, and then the wide receivers FSU has, Keith Gavin and I mean, defensive lines can neutralize a lot, but I just don't think that these offenses are going to get shut down. I think it's going to be a great game. And I think more than anything, I think it's going to live up to the hype. I mean, I really think it's got a chance to be a really, really good game.
You don't know how nervous you just made everybody, buddy. People are like, no, Ira, go ahead and tell us how we're going to blow Alabama out.
Well, after hearing you for the last couple of weeks, man, they're just happy to hear you think it might be a game.
Yeah, I know. They're really worried. They've taken the fact that I thought that Florida State would lose this game and run with it and turned it into, Jeff thinks we're going to get blown the hell out. Good talking to you, brother. I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, Jeff, see you.
All right, take care. That's Ira Schoffel, warchant.com. I don't know, man. It's interesting. He thinks that both offenses are going to have a measure of success. The closer we get, the more I do think this could be a real defensive struggle. It's a first game. First games are a lot of times sloppy. And Derwin James is a huge difference maker. They're going to allow him to play a star, I'm sure, an awful lot. And he's a guy that they want to have help in the run game. And his impact in that arena is it can't be understated. It can't be overstated, I think. I think he's a kid that, we already know what he is as an athlete. But if you think about the nastiness he brings to the table, more than just the athleticism, because a lot of people are very athletic, but he's a football player. And this is a game for grown-ass men. This is a game where that edge, the nastiness that a Jalen Ramsey had, is required. We always talk so often about guys at Alabama eating from the Bama table, how much bigger they seem, but they always play. What goes along with that a lot of times is a nastiness to the way they play. And Derwin James is that kind of guy.
Hey, man, he's not there anymore, thankfully. But Reuben Foster last night, did you see a couple of those hits he laid? I mean, first play of the game on Dalvin in the flat.
He's a nasty. Oh, man. Yeah.
But that's what they do.
That's what
who
they
are.
And I just feel like, we got us one. We got us a guy who's nasty, who wants to send messages.
Okay, so more likely you're thinking that this game is disjointed, sloppy, and defensive than, say, 35-31 in a game of runs, offensive runs.
But remember this, and I'll keep reiterating it, because football has changed so drastically, the way it's played and the way that it's officiated. A good defensive battle can still be 27-24. You know what I mean? I mean, a good defensive football, the rules are in place, especially in college, that allow for these RPOs and allow for things where you put defenders in conflict and you really don't give them a fair opportunity. To me, also the way penalties are called changes field position so often. I think you can be very sound defensively, but if you're going against an elite team and you can give up 24 or 27 points and have played really well on defense, and it used to be, and my mind is the way that a lot of people, certainly 40-plus-year-old people are. I mean, you think about football, good defensive football games being 17-14, but that's no longer the standard, right, or something along those lines. Like anymore, 28-24 could be a game that featured a lot of great defense. So, I don't know. I don't know if score-wise it will represent what you have in your head for great defense.
But it'll feel that way, though, because now we're so used to, 42-35 football.
It's nothing to see people drop 40-something points in a football game anymore, and those used to be hard points to come by. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Hobbit American Grill. 3 locations to choose from. 400 Capitol Circle Southeast, 2020 West Pensacola Street, and 5032 Capitol Circle Southwest. Visit them online at myhobbitonline.com.
They say, want a new wireless plan? Gotta buy a new phone. At Simple Mobile, we say, just bring your own phone. Then pop in a Simple Mobile SIM card and boom, you've got 30-day unlimited plans starting at just $25 with nationwide coverage on a lightning-fast 4G LTE network, all with no contract. You can keep it complicated, or you can mobile simple with Simple Mobile.
Available nationwide at Best Buy, Simple Mobile dealers, and authorized retailers. See the latest terms and conditions of service at simplemobile.com.
We have more cars than we had last year. You want to put some up here? Then we're going to need a crane again. Yes, that was me, Chris Kraft, up on the roof of the dealership last week looking for a place to store our overflow inventory. But this year we have the perfect storm here at Kraft Nissan because while we have over 400 cars and trucks on the ground, it is also our model year closeout. And everyone knows that the best deals on new cars come when a dealer needs to move inventory. Combine that with model year-end closeout incentives and you get the perfect storm of huge savings. And my managers are threatening to keep me up on the roof until we sell a bunch of cars and trucks. So make me a reasonable offer. I'll do whatever it takes to get myself off the roof. Like 0% interest for 6 years on America's #1 selling SUV, the Nissan Rogue, and up to $5,300 in total savings on the red-hot Nissan Altima, or take up to $10,500 off MSRP on the Nissan Titan with America's best factory truck warranty, 5 years or 100,000 miles, bumper to bumper. And as always, our exclusive lifetime warranty. And they wonder why Tallahassee is a Nissan town, a Kraft Nissan town. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
If you haven't stopped into Tallahassee's favorite hangout, the Fourth Quarter Bar and Grill on North Monroe Street, you're missing out.
Hey, it's me, Courtney. Hey, it's me, Marissa. Last but not least, I'm Kim, and we're the girls from the Fourth Quarter.
Okay, girls, there are lots of great nights to stop in at the Fourth Quarter, including Monday, where it's happy hour all day, including 2-for-1 Wells. There's Tuesday night trivia with Professor Jimmy, where you can win money. What other night should we stop by the Fourth Quarter?
It's Kim again. Join me Saturday and Sunday mornings for Bubbles and Brunch from 7 to 2. $18.99, all you can drink mimosas and Bloody Marys, and it includes breakfast.
Hey, Riss here. Come join me for lunch. We have over 20 lunch specials for just $7.50, and that includes a drink.
I'm Courtney. Visit me on Monday nights when we have 2-for-1 Wells, calls, and domestic drafts all night.
Don't miss out on the girls of the Fourth Quarter. Pick your favorite night and stop in. Say hi to the girls at 2033 North Monroe Street, the Fourth Quarter Bar and Grill, Tallahassee's favorite hangout.
The Knolls are heating up, and so are the Makita deals at Cornerstone Tool & Fastener, your Big Bend Makita Pro Center. The Build Your Own Kit promo is here with many options to choose from. Buy a Makita Dual Base Starter Kit with bag, 2 5-amp-hour batteries, and pick your 2 bare tools. Cornerstone Tool & Fastener, your professional and serious do-it-yourself shop. 1110 Stuckey Ave, Tallahassee, or 3269 Crawfordville Highway. Call them at 580-1200 in Tallahassee or 926-1144 in Crawfordville. Online at CTF.nu.
So your AC is on the fritz? Call Barano Heating and Air Conditioning for help, day or night. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, 580-4029 or BaranoAC.com. Florida license number CAC 057652.
You're listening to The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show 97.9 ESPN Radio. Hey. Can we just listen to this song all the way through?
You tell me.
Well, we put it in carefully, but yeah, it kind of wanes. No, you're all right. You're all right. That was Matthew and I putting that in.
I know the first minute or so is good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good.
Beyond that,
You're
I can't.
All right. Yeah, all right. You know what? We got something new here for you. I want to do this. We're 5 minutes away from me being able to actually say this, but it's okay. It's the final half an hour of a work day. That's right. If you get off at 5, it is. So this is the perfect time for our new feature, Beer 30, presented by our friends, our great friends at the 7th Hill Tap Room on Appalachia Parkway.
Can 'em up, pour 'em out.
I'll just have a cup of coffee.
There it is.
It's Beer 30, brought to you by the 7th Hill Tap Room on Appalachia Parkway.
Tonight is Mix and Match Monday, featuring $1 off all 6-packs of Mix and Match craft beers. Goodness gracious, that's a good deal. And all bucket specials are $2 off. So you're good to go. That's good.
Also, if you want to join the Cup Club, the 7th Hill Tap Room now has a Green Cup Club. So
what the hell is that, Tom? Tell me all about it.
Well, I can tell you all about it. I'm informed on this matter.
Let's hear it.
If you spend 10 bones on this Green Cup from Monday through Wednesday after 7 p.m., you get $1 off all drafts. Also, all day Saturday, $1 off all drafts at the 7th Hill Tap Room.
Game days.
It will pay for itself on a game day. Yes.
Easily. I didn't get an opportunity to start the show. I'll go back and thank our friends at the 7th Hill Tap Room momentarily, but I want to use this segment, since it's not that long a segment, to thank everybody who came out on Friday for the 6th annual Jeff Cameron Show, Libations Friday Fest, and Listener Appreciation Party. All of our sponsors and all of the people who work here at ESPN, and people who volunteer to help us, like Alicia, and so many others. I don't always get a chance to say thank you the way that I should, and I'm sometimes guilty of overlooking many who work on our behalf and go through great lengths to make sure things go off without a hitch. But I want all of the people to know, and that includes certainly all of our sponsors and listeners and the fine people at the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill who host this thing every year, that I do very much appreciate it. It's not lost on me on how important it is, and how this family, Jeff Cameron Show listeners, has grown over the years. That event now, if you're not careful, it could make you an egomaniac. There's so many people that show up. It's really cool. And I am honored and flattered and humbled by how many people who show up. And I mean that genuinely. So if I didn't get a chance to say thank you in person, I feel like I had to have. I mean, I really efforted this time around to make sure that I tried to get to each table if I could, and to meet as many of you as possible, because I do want to meet you, and I do care that you listen, and I care greatly that you take your time to show up to an event like that just to express your support. It means the world to us here, and I know I speak for Tom when I say that as well, and all of us here at ESPN. So it was a great time, and I enjoyed meeting new people and getting a chance to chit-chat about the upcoming season and thoughts on any number of other things on Friday. And then, and of course, there's always Bill over there at the Corner Pocket and all his people at 7th Hill as well. We had a great time. It was good times.
It was a really good time. And this one had a different feel to it because, elephant in the room, pun intended, at the Alabama game. Yeah. Everybody wanted to talk about the Alabama game. It just... Ira said it. You've talked about it. We've talked about it ad nauseum since mid-July, it feels like. This one's different. It just has a completely different feel to it. It's an inverted season. It's almost like the Alabama game is unto itself. In a way, it reminds me of the Oklahoma State game, just in this sense. That was more a celebration out in Arlington of the accomplishment of winning the national championship. It seemed like its own entity. And then when we came back and we played that next week in the Soup, and was it the Citadel I think we played? The kid, admitted that they were cutting us on purpose, so the offensive lineman.
Piss you off a little bit?
That felt like the start of the football season. It was like the trip out to Dallas is this, other deal, and now we're starting our 2014 campaign. In the same way, it feels like this Alabama game is almost in a vacuum, and then we'll start the real deal next week. But it's an awesome vacuum to be in. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's weird, too, because you feel like you can easily identify the factors that'll make the difference in the game, but yet you want to overcomplicate it, because anytime two elite programs with the kinds of athletes we're talking about here meet, you feel like, ooh, there's a hidden gem out there that you want to touch on. And, you run the risk of trying to outthink the room, just as coaches do, worried about what the other guy already knows about them. But in truth, you think about things like Jalen Hurts, who ran the ball 12 to 13 times a game last year, to help make up for a lot of the things he doesn't do as a passer. And can Florida State corral that? Can Florida State limit him as a rusher? That's an obvious factor. That's something we haven't spent a lot of time on, but let's just start right there. Can Florida State limit what Jalen Hurts does as a runner? Because I feel like as a passer, I'll take my chances. He's going to miss some open guys. He just does. Well, for that matter, DeAndre Francois does. Both quarterbacks. Now, Hurts struggles more than Francois does in that arena, but they miss some open guys. Both quarterbacks can hurt you with their legs. We just choose to utilize ours as a runner far less, almost half as many times a game as Alabama does with theirs. Let's just stop and start with that. That's a big, big facet of this football game. You don't have to outthink the room. Can they stop him as a runner?
Yeah, and I think the casual fan would just say, well, I mean, for the first half, Derwin James could follow him around the field, and Trey Marshall in the second half, when he's eligible to play from the stupid suspension, you can just put him on Hurts, and you're all taken care of. It's not that simple, though. The thing is, it's going to require discipline on top of athleticism. And the question is, your two defensive ends, they're going to be called upon. Even if Jalen Wilkerson comes into the game to set the edge against the run, and you want to have Wilkerson and Sweat out there.
Yeah, and Sweat does that very well, yeah.
Well, I'm saying, if you want to put him on weak.
No, I got you.
Burns isn't big enough. But whoever that backside player is, you got to keep contained, because the way it works is Hurts is going to make something out of nothing. He's going to break a play, and he's going to go for 10, 15 yards on the backside of the play before you even blink an eye. And you say, well, why did that happen? It's because of discipline. It's not because of athleticism here or there. So there's two facets to it. Are you quick enough to keep up with him? But then also, are you sound enough in your scheme to make sure you keep him where you want him to be? Those are the tests.
Yeah, and the more we talk through it, the more we begin to vet this. And we'll do this tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday as well and Friday. And, you're just trying to talk through the ways that Florida State wins or loses, or the way Alabama wins or loses. Really, you take it from both sides, and obviously we cover one team far closer than we do the other. We do have access to those that have been on the ground in Tuscaloosa, and we'll bring those in. We're going to have interviews this week with people that cover Alabama, and that I look forward to as well, to glean some insight. I just know this. I know that Alabama year in and year out has a very, very good defense against the run, period. And, you try to envision a way where you can create balance if you're Florida State, so that Bama can't pin their ears on second and third and obvious. And, that's a big facet too. But you can talk about each one of these components, and yet, at the end of the day, I really think we're going to continue to come back to a theme that has won football games forever and a day. Are you tough enough? Are you tough enough? And that's why Jimbo was so pissed last year, just so angry. There are lots of ways that you lose football games, lots of ways that teams aren't equipped to win big games. And some of those ways you can live with if it's just not your year, if you had mass graduation and or you lost a lot of talented players to the NFL draft. You're going to have a year where the inexperience takes hold and you lose football games because of it. Or maybe some young guys have to play before they're ready, and you know that going into the year, and you live with that, right? You live with that. But when one of the reasons you're losing football games is simply because you're not tough enough, or you refuse to commit to what it takes to be tough enough, that'll cause you to lose your lunch as a coach. That's the hardest thing in the world to swallow, and that's what last year's group was early, along with banged up, and that angered Jimbo. But so far, the feeling I get is that he doesn't feel that way about this group.
Agreed, but there's a toughness in being selfless too. In allowing
absolutely.
For a play to develop. Let's say you're a defensive tackle. It's the most selfless position in the
defense. To eat
defense.
a block, man.
Right.
To eat, yes.
Okay, well, what about this question about keeping Hurts in check? From a pass rush standpoint, what's your goal? Is your goal to contain Hurts, or is your goal to try and go in and sack the quarterback?
No, you know what? That's funny. I'll use the other coach to give you an example. Nick Saban loves to say it's not about sacks, although they're nice. It's about affecting the quarterback. And Jimbo has taken that phrase and used it several times himself. And as a former quarterback, he talks about what that means. If you go look at the statistics of Jalen Hurts when he's under a lot of pressure, they're terrible. He's not very good. Now, you might say, well, a lot of quarterbacks under pressure don't perform well. Some perform a lot better than others. If you take it to the next level, you'll see an Aaron Rodgers, you'll see a Jameis Winston, who under pressure perform exceptionally well. And what I mean is pressure, not outside pressures, not the magnitude of a game, but pressures, physical pressures, as in a defense is bringing blitzers at you as a quarterback. Hurts struggles with that. For all his elusiveness as a runner, those are designed runs where he exploits and does damage with his legs. As a passer, on called pass plays, if he feels pressure, he has a very low success rate. Now, maybe he's improved and he'll buy time and hurt you in that way. Elusive quarterbacks can do that. I'm trying to get him, and I'm using Derwin James.
Well, it's notable because that's not typically the case. When you have a quarterback who's so gifted with his legs, the idea is let's compress the pocket, but contain the integrity of the pocket so that he doesn't have natural rush lanes to break.
Well,
and
yeah,
go.
Obviously you can't be a blind dumbass and just go parading upfield without focus on what your job is. And I'm not saying you're suggesting
Sure.
that, but I'm saying
like a guy who would always crash on a zone read play.
Right. Controlled chaos, man.
Right.
You have assignment football. You know what you're supposed to do. You know which players certainly know that they can't lose contain on any given play. But I think putting him under pressure and putting pressure on him when he's in obvious passing situations is something Florida State's going to seek to do, and not just because they're whipping guys up front. I think they're going to manufacture pressure.
Again, what's great about that, if the stats suggest that he's that bad against pressure, then you do it. But they have to be bad. If it's 50-50, then you don't want to put his strength potentially in play. But if he is that bad at handling the moment and handling pressure,
he was last year, but he was a freshman, and that is the thing you can't know. Like, how much better now is he going to be than he was a year ago after really being thrown into the fire?
Well, don't you find it curious though that Nick Saban says that they want to run more pro-style concepts?
Well, maybe later in the year. I'm not buying it right now. I mean, he says that. Well, I mean, anything would go opposite of. I mean, anything would be adding a lot in that regard to last year's offense. I mean, I think he was frustrated by the fact that they, in a way, it was forsaken, right?
But what comes with that is greater poise. There's a need for greater poise out of the quarterback to be able to handle those situations, to be able to progress to number 3 or number 4, to handle the pressure.
Jalen Hurts ain't progressing to number 3 or number 4 in this game. I promise you that. If he does, then we're not getting any kind of pressure, and we've got problems. And if that kid shows he's capable already of doing that, and he's sitting in the pocket and going through progression 1, 2 to 3 and 4, forget about it. The whole league is in trouble. Everybody's in trouble.
Okay, if you're on a radio station and you're working in Hoover, Alabama, the lovely Hoover, Alabama, and
yeah.
No, it is actually legitimately nice. Yeah. I was stunned when we went out.
I know you were. Yeah.
Still to this day, and you're talking about the offense this year, and you hear that Nick Saban wants to institute professional pro-style concepts, and this is going to be your quarterback this year. Are you thinking, well, that's got to be gamesmanship, or are you thinking, well, wait a minute, that doesn't really fit the personnel here. What are we doing?
Well, I know that in the past they've run that, though. They've had guys, McElroy and others, that ran that. I know that they weren't the runner that obviously Jalen Hurts is. So I understand he wants to return to that because they lined up and run it down your throat with a big offensive line and talented running backs, and they've got tight ends. And so, yeah.
They like their kid. They like the new kid, the new freshman.
Him. They love him.
And maybe it's built for him, but it just doesn't make sense to be talking about that now with this particular quarterback.
I think you infuse elements of it, and I think you certainly don't shy away from utilizing Jalen Hurts' strength, though, as a runner, just because you'd like to add more components of a pro-style offense back into what you do because you feel like you've strayed too far away from those offenses of yesteryear. So I think I would take it to mean it's a gradual approach. Jeff Cameron, Show 97.9, ESPN Radio. Again, our thanks to our friends at the Seventh Hill Tap Room, right underneath Corner Pocket Bar and Grill, where you can always find the newest and freshest Florida craft beer.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford. The place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Systems cleared for launch. Initiate launch sequence. T-minus 3, 2, 1, mark. Release the mount to kickstart.
Mountain Dew Kickstart released.
Experiencing a charge of Mountain Dew Kickstart now.
Mountain Dew Kickstart operation successful.
You are now off the couch and out exploring the world.
Roger that.
Get charged up for what's coming next anytime, anywhere with Mountain Dew Kickstart. Available in 10 energizing flavors like mango lime, raspberry citrus, midnight grape, and orange citrus. Mountain Dew Kickstart. Fuel with flavor.
RCD Shell knows how to keep you cool and refreshed. All 20-ounce Pepsi and Mountain Dew products are 2 for $2.22. That's right, 2 for $2.22. And 28-ounce Gatorade is buy one, get one free. It's more fun with Pepsi and Dew, so bring on the bubbles with these cool prices at RCD Shell.
Hey, Wally Woodham here. In 1974, I set the national high school passing record at Leon High with 3,560 yards.
Jimmy Jordan here. Wally, I broke your passing record at Leon the very next year.
Well, Jimmy, in our 3 years together at FSU, I threw for 22 touchdown passes.
Wally, that's pretty good, but I had 39.
Well, Jimmy, look at the deal I got at AAA Transmission.
That's a pretty good deal, Wally. At least your car's a winner.
Don't put off your auto repairs. Stop in at AAA Transmission and ask for owner Tim Pridgeon, servicing Tallahassee for over 30 years. AAA Transmission, 1023 North Monroe Street, or call them at 222-2532.
Fire up the grills for another season of Seminole football.
2nd and 3, patient, then explosive, and a touchdown for the Noles.
It's Tallahassee Game Day, your ESPN Tallahassee pregame show featuring Jeff Cameron and Tom Lang.
Yeah, I like them.
Get the latest news, interviews, and insights 3 hours ahead of kickoff before the Noles defend home turf.
Hey, on Saturday, we're going to play a game. We're going to most likely win that game, and we're going to celebrate on Sunday.
Tallahassee Game Day is brought to you by Whole Foods Market, a leader in natural and organic food that brings the highest quality of local and global products to Tallahassee. Whole Foods Market, located at 1817 Thomasville Road, and presented by MMT Clinics of Florida. Visit MMTCFL.com.
To the pylon! That's a Seminoles touchdown!
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi, developing story. The Astros and Rangers waiting in Dallas for word from Major League Baseball on the status of their upcoming series, which is scheduled to begin tomorrow in Houston. The teams didn't travel there after games yesterday because of torrential flooding from Tropical Storm Harvey that has devastated America's 4th largest city. Houston Texans remain in Dallas and are practicing at the Cowboys training facility. Their preseason game against the Cowboys Thursday may be moved from Houston to Dallas. The Texans, Cowboys, and NFL are each donating $1 million to the United Way of Greater Houston Flood Relief Fund. The CFL's Houston Tiger Cats hired former Baylor football coach Art Briles as an assistant. Briles was fired in May of 2016 after the university's investigation of its handling of sexual assault by students, including some made against football players. The Tiger Cats own the negotiating rights to free agent quarterback Robert Griffin III, by the way. He played for Briles at Baylor. Bills traded linebacker Reggie Ragland to the Chiefs for a 2019 4th-round draft pick. Ragland, 4th pick of former GM Doug Whaley, that's been traded by New Buffalo GM Brandon Beane.
Experience why for nearly a century men have trusted Barbasol for a close, comfortable shave. Whether it's extra moisturizing with vitamin E or soothing aloe, all you have to do is sit back and bask in the glory of your close shave. You're looking good, America. You're shaving with Barbasol.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Experamac of Tallahassee. Experamac, Tallahassee's trusted tech source for Apple. Stop in at 346 South Magnolia Drive or call at 765-2012 today.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Ricky Aguayo, thoughts? ...
Where's he lining up from? How long is the attempt?
Well, it's a climate-controlled arena, so we ought to feel very comfortable about the no outside influences. So 46.
I'm not feeling so great when the ball snapped.
44.
It's borderline. See, I think 41 in outdoor conditions, as long as there's not a monsoon or heavy wind, I feel okay. But 42, I'm not so sure.
Not so great.
Indoors, I'll give him 2 more yards. So 43, I'll feel pretty good. 44, I start to think a little bit. Yeah.
Logan Tyler going to have a good day. Sophomore Logan Tyler going to have a good day punting the football, or a shaky up and down. Oh, that's a good one, Logan. Damn, what happened there, Logan?
Oh, it's the latter. If you're allowing for the good one, then it's the latter, I think.
It's the latter?
Man, yeah, he needs to have a good day if this thing's going to play out like you think it will.
What, be close in the fourth?
No, if there's going to be more defensive stops than we are accustomed to seeing, well, then all of a sudden field position comes into play, and you need your punter to not be, dead.
Well, I need him to be good, and I need Ricky to be good, and I think points are going to be hard to come by in that first half. And if you get opportunities to cash that in, or you get opportunities to flip field position with these two stout defenses, that could be the difference in the game. We all know that. It's oftentimes a cliche. Coaches will talk about the 3 phases of football, and a lot of times against a lesser-tier opponent. If you're taking on a Wake Forest, I really don't care about the punting game. If you're talking about Wake Forest, I don't care about the kicking game. I know that Florida State's might and depth of talent is going to take care of business with offense and defensive prowess. But in games like this, where you aren't the superior team athletically, and at best hope to match that of Alabama in a given game, maybe be slightly better in some areas, certainly, then special teams comes into play big time. And everybody understands that. And probably none more than Nick Saban certainly has felt his fair share of frustration with their kicking game, and that's been a problem in their camp as well. So largely ignored because we loved matchups. We love talking about quarterbacks. We love talking about the talent of a Minkah Fitzpatrick for Alabama or a Derwin James of Florida State, the versatile athletes that can play everywhere, that make a huge difference in shutting down various elements of the game. We forget about kickers and we forget about punters sometimes, but not in matchups like this. And so I would say, neither side goes into this game feeling at ease with their kicking game. I think Florida State should feel slightly more comfortable based on what we're hearing out of Alabama, but I don't know that I have a ton of confidence going into this game that a kick is a sure thing, that a 40-yarder is as good, which is what we had for the longest run. And, that is something that who would have thunk it if you're like me and you were in school and you survived and you watched and you've been through all the pain and the tough times of wide rights and so forth. You never would have thought that this would become Kicker U, which it did become. You got to where you spent a decade's worth of time assuming kicks were good because they were. And pivotal kicks, not of the small variety, but I got to make a 48-yarder on the road where if I miss, they're in great field position and a field goal of their own is going to turn it into a 2-score game and time is of the essence. We're going to lose that football game. We saw our guys make those kicks. I'm obviously talking about Roberto making a kick down in Miami, which changed the complexion of that football game, and having the kind of confidence necessary to even send him out there in that situation speaks to how good he was and how consistent he was. And prior to that, we all know we had very good kickers back to back to back. So it's been a good run for Florida State. I loved being able to take for granted that those were points that you could count on if you got in the red zone, points you could count on if you got inside the 40. Now, I don't know that we feel that way.
Well, and again, I understand your point about the coming weeks and the challenge that will be Miami in week 3 and the challenge of NC State in week 4. But again, if you're looking for doomsday scenarios, just for a moment, I'm usually the happy guy, but the doomsday scenario is you miss a couple of field goals, from 38 and 43.
Blow opportunities,
That's 2 less possessions, 2 fewer possessions than you're going to have for the entire game, and you come up with zeros, even though you feel good about the possession. There's no points on the board. Next thing you know, it's the third quarter, and you're leading 10-7 or 17-14. Would have been nice to have those 2 field goals, and you're thinking about it when you're commercial break in the third quarter going, it really would help if a makeable kick would go through the uprights here because we'd be feeling a lot better on this defensive possession. Now, all of a sudden, my heart's in my throat because we can't handle what we need to on special teams.
Is that looking for ghosts where there are none? Hopefully. But at the same time, when you're talking about a game like this one and a schedule like this one that includes a lot of top-flight defenses, special teams have to be way better than they've been the last few seasons. Last two in particular, they've got to be worlds better than they were because you need every hidden yard you can get.
You love the kick return game right now in your head, right?
I hope the blocking is up to par, but I love the game breaker ability.
Monstrosity, right?
I want Gavin to catch the ball so that Derwin can lead block. That's what I want. Yeah.
Well, I don't want him blocking. I'd rather have him in return, actually.
You'd want Gavin blocking for Derwin?
I want Gavin blocking for Derwin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think Derwin's a freak. I want to see Derwin.
Well, I want to see it too, but who do I feel more comfortable with blocking? I mean, Derwin is just going to – remember when Carlos first did it when he got here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was still a safety, and we hadn't, figured out he couldn't play defense yet. But he could lead block with the best of them.
Hurting folks, just punishing people.
That's where Derwin, really.
It's a whole lot of what for coming to the table right there. At Jay Cameron Show, apparently the U.S. Open tennis has started. I'm 100% sure neither of you knew that. Admit it. #a-hole. And Mario, lest you forget, I'm a tennis guy, and you'd be 100% wrong. You know, one of the reasons I knew that the U.S. Open was starting was, A, I like the U.S. Open, and B, this is the first, I'm pretty sure Maria Sharapova is allowed back in, and I care nothing about her, but I do like her ass. So I knew that she would be participating. That's sexist, but that's the truth.
#a-hole.
There you go. I'll throw it out there on the table like that.
There's a U.S. Open take for you.
There you go. That's my take about the U.S. Open.
And yet you're a tennis guy.
I do like tennis, and I like the strategy of tennis and not just women's butts. But I like them too. I don't hide from that. I do. I can still admit that. I don't think I get in trouble for admitting that. I think it's fair to say. Also, their game is also a value.
I don't disagree with you, but I'd like consistency from 47 yards out this year. That's what I'd like. I'd really like that.
I'm answering Mario's question in a fair, honest, rather blunt way. That's all I'm saying. I do. Kurt writes at Jay Cameron Show at _Tom Wang. Gents, nobody knows, save for the coaches, what Alabama really is this year. We may just be the superior team. Got to wait and see. Well, I'm not paid to wait and see, Kurt. We have to talk about something. And moreover, I would tell you this.
We'll talk to you on Monday.
Yeah. Anyway, take the week off until we see it. You can, as you do each and every season, based on returning talent, based on philosophy, coaching acumen, and previous track record, safely assume certain aspects of what Alabama is. You have an educated guess in other areas, certainly, and those are talking points. So I think it's better that we go ahead and talk it through. That's my guess.
Did TPE make a ghost appearance at this year's Libation?
Not that I'm aware.
Okay, I wasn't aware of one.
No,
either.
I think he double middle fingered us. I think he chose not to show up at the fan event.
You think he forgot to on Friday?
No, I think he's just shunning us. I think he's I don't know what happened there. He's been at previous ones. I don't think he he's an elite listener, and I think that with his elite listener status, and he has worn JCS shirts from all around the world. So I think he feels like, well, I don't need to come to those events. I'll just meet you gents out somewhere, and we'll shoot a game of pool or something.
Yeah, maybe we can watch the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open or something. That'll be a real hoot.
Well, I would like it. You'd like it.
Actually, I kind of would.
Yeah, you would. You would. And you're not, if you're being 100% honest, if it were the women's quarterfinals, you'd be even happier.
Wait a minute. Are you looking in the mirror saying that?
I'm just saying. I like us to come to the table with the chips out there, right? We throw it out there. It's there. There's an element of that. My wife walks in. So you're watching women's tennis in the opening round of the U.S. Open, huh? Oh, that's good stuff. Highly competitive, babe. These women are fantastic.
Is this even the main draw?
They are really, really good.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Auto Parts. Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
Don't let Tallahassee's hot summers get you down. Verano Heating and Air Conditioning can help in case of a breakdown, day or night. Their certified technicians can get you up and running in no time. Turn to the experts at Carrier and at Verano Heating and Air. Call 580-4029 or visit VeranoAC.com. Florida license number CAC 057652.
Brent, this month's topic is classic song lyrics. You ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Here's a lyric. American history, practical math. You study them hard and hoping to pass.
It's from School Days by the great Chuck Berry. He wrote and recorded so many great hits.
You mean like TNT Supercenter sells and services so many top golf cart brands with an enormous selection all under one roof?
TNT Supercenter customers can compare the top golf cart brands side by side. Club Car, Yamaha, Star EV, and the ultimate hunting vehicle to beat. TNT Supercenter has the largest selection of carts in the area. Pre-owned carts starting at just $19.99. New carts with a 4-year warranty starting at just $49.99. And at TNT, our service center and service technicians are trained, certified, and authorized for every brand we sell.
And there's plenty of parts and accessories too, right?
Our parts inventory is huge, and we'll dress up your existing cart with a full line of Mad Jack's premium accessory products like seat kits, light kits, lift kits, and now for a limited time, save 20% on all of Mad Jack's parts and accessories.
TNT Supercenter, US 19 South, next to Dairy Queen in Thomasville, and online at TNTSupercenter.com.
Hey, Dad, did you see me make that last play? We're unstoppable this season.
Yeah, you're doing great on the field this year, but how'd you do on your test today?
Well...
Hi, I'm Lance Davis. Let Engaged Academics be your answer to helping your athlete balance their academics and athletics. Visit engagedacademics.org for more information. That's engagedacademics.org.
Football season is here, and it's time to score big and get in on the action with MyBookie.ag. MyBookie is an industry-leading website and the best place for you to cash in on all the insane last-minute drives, huge upsets, and heart-pounding finishes. Join now, and MyBookie will match your deposit with up to a 100% bonus. They have in-game live betting on nearly every sporting event, plus a user-friendly mobile site so you never miss a single play. Are you sick and tired of getting the runaround when you ask for a payout? Come join MyBookie today. With decades of expertise, no hassle payouts, and no fine print, you'll experience the greatest customer service in the business, guaranteed. Use promo code RADIO to activate your bonus of up to 100%. Call 844-900-2387 or visit mybookie.ag to open an account. That's 844-900-BETS or go online to mybookie.ag and use promo code RADIO. Win with the best only at MyBookie. Sign up today.
We have more cars than we had last year. You want to put some up here? Then we're going to need a crane again.
Yes, that was me, Chris Kraft, up on the roof of the dealership last week looking for a place to store our overflow inventory. But this year we have the perfect storm here at Kraft Nissan because while we have over 400 cars and trucks on the ground, it is also our model year closeout. And everyone knows that the best deals on new cars come when a dealer needs to move inventory. Combine that with model year-end closeout incentives and you get the perfect storm of huge savings. And my managers are threatening to keep me up on the roof until we sell a bunch of cars and trucks. So make me a reasonable offer. I'll do whatever it takes to get myself off the roof. Like 0% interest for 6 years on America's #1 selling SUV, the Nissan Rogue, and up to $5,300 in total savings on the red-hot Nissan Altima, or take up to $10,500 off MSRP on the Nissan Titan with America's best factory truck warranty, 5 years or 100,000 miles, bumper to bumper. And as always, our exclusive lifetime warranty. And they wonder why Tallahassee is a Nissan town, a Kraft Nissan town. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Broadcasting live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi, developing story. The Astros and Rangers waiting in Dallas for word from Major League Baseball on the status of their upcoming series, which is scheduled to begin tomorrow in Houston. The teams didn't travel there after games yesterday because of torrential flooding from Tropical Storm Harvey that has devastated America's fourth largest city. Houston Texans remain in Dallas and are practicing at the Cowboys training facility. Their preseason game against the Cowboys Thursday may be moved from Houston to Dallas. The Texans, Cowboys, and NFL are each donating $1 million to the United Way of Greater Houston Flood Relief Fund. The CFL's Houston Tiger Cats hired former Baylor football coach Art Briles as an assistant. Briles was fired in May of 2016 after the university's investigation of its handling of sexual assault by students, including some made against football players. The Tiger Cats own the negotiating rights to free agent quarterback Robert Griffin III, by the way. He played for Briles at Baylor. Bills traded linebacker Reggie Ragland to the Chiefs for a 2019 fourth-round draft pick. Ragland, fourth pick of former GM Doug Whaley, that's been traded by New Buffalo GM Brandon Beane.
Experience why for nearly a century men have trusted Barbasol for a close, comfortable shave. Whether it's extra moisturizing with vitamin E or soothing aloe, all you have to do is sit back and bask in the glory of your close shave. You're looking good, America. You're shaving with Barbasol.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Experamac of Tallahassee. Experamac, Tallahassee's trusted tech source for Apple. Stop in at 346 South Magnolia Drive or call at 765-2012 today.
The ball on the tee as the smoke clears, and we get ready.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
What is it about the air over a field that changes when two iconic helmets close in on their course to collide? Is it an illusion? Eyes telling lies? No, we know better.
And he hooked it left. Florida State wins. Alabama has defeated Penn State in the Sugar Bowl. The first champion of the 21st century, the Florida State Seminoles.
You must find a way. Is it the game's royalty flanked by decades of tradition, sporting collars torn by defeat, woven together again through victory? Garnet and gold, crimson and white, under the game's brightest light.
Second and 3, patient and explosive, and a touchdown for the Noles. Touchdown, Crimson Tide. Francois to throw to the end zone. It is caught. Touchdown, Naquan Murray. Seminoles are going for the win.
No more will these two ships pass each other in the dead of night. At the height of their powers, they meet on the ultimate September stage. A stage so newly constructed, you could say it was made for two royal footballing nations, two decorated traditions, two iconic helmets on a course to collide.
Here comes Alabama, the garneted gold of Florida State.
See that change in the air? It's no illusion. This one is different.
Give it to me. One time. First play to last play. You control your outcome. We always do. That's Florida State.
This is Florida State.
You don't let somebody get off the mat.
This is Alabama.
Why do you push yourself? Finish.
This is the one we've been waiting for.
An ultimate clash between two college football giants.
Buckle up and happy hunting.
Interrupting all programs. This is Radio Clash on Pirate Satellite.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. And I thank you for tuning to it. And a glorious game week Monday to you and yours. I'm Jeff, that's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com, where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but if you miss something, it's all right, because all 3 hours going to be posted both on iTunes and in our own audio vault, brought to you with a limited commercial interruption thanks to our friend CarltonDean.com. You can email the show if you like. It's jcs@979espnradio.com. Find me on Twitter at JCameronShow, WTSM app for your mobile devices. That's a good thing, right? Go check it out. Also on YouTube, ESPN Tallahassee. You can watch on ESPN Tallahassee every day. Yeah, sometimes just another way to get the show. That's a good thing, right? On Twitter, it's at JCameronShow and at _Tom.
Yeah, first football season where there's the video elements, too. So if we win the big ones or lose the big ones, you can kind of see on our face how we feel about it.
Either way, that's right. You can do that. And I know this. I know that we all woke up giddy. Our heart was a-dancing as it is finally game week. That said, I want to repeat something that I said in the 3 o'clock hour for new listeners, and certainly our hearts and our thoughts go out to all the people in Texas affected and Louisiana affected by the flooding and the remnants of the hurricane. We certainly understand that for some people, they aren't afforded the opportunity right now to be thinking about something as frivolous as a sporting event and football games, and I understand they're hurting, and I certainly hope the resources and safety that they need is provided. And if you are listening in the great state of Texas and are using this as maybe as a form of escapism, hey, welcome aboard, and we send our love. We send our love, and I wish you nothing but the best. Maybe here in the coming days we'll get good news, so cross your fingers and certainly send your well wishes and thoughts with the people there. And for those that are helping them too, great work. So there you go. Obviously, you guys already know about that storm. You already know the remnants of it and the things that have happened. And won't spend too much time on that other than to acknowledge it and send our love. Now, game week is upon us. Finally, we have waited and waited and waited. It was nice to get a taste, right? It was nice to kind of ease on into it this past weekend. Nice to see Florida A&M get the season started right with a dominating victory. Need that victory before, unfortunately, going for that payday in Arkansas. That's a toughie. So this was an important win, and FAMU gets off on the right foot now. Florida State looks to do the exact same thing in one of the mega contests of college football. Oddity that it is. First game of the year, highest-ranked two teams ever to face one another for a first game of the year, 8 o'clock, Mercedes-Benz. We'll be there. I'll be covering this game up close and personal, and have a chance to check in on a Florida State team that is loaded on defense and talented enough to win this football game, I do believe. Vegas says Bama's a touchdown favorite. Vegas says Bama will win this football game. I think going back and looking at the last several recruiting classes, you would have to put the odds on favorite to be Alabama. But it doesn't mean Florida State can't win this game, and that's true. I know earlier, a couple weeks back, I picked Bama to win this game. And I still think in a pinch, if I had to put my money down on this game, of which I will not be betting this particular contest, I would pick Alabama. But I don't think that there are too many outlandish things that have to happen for Florida State to win the game. It's certainly plausible. It wouldn't even be all that shocking because Florida State is talented, because Florida State has experience at key positions, because they're loaded on defense, and because I don't think that Alabama, for all the success that Alabama has had, certainly in these season-opening games against name opponents they have, I don't think any of those teams that precede this game have the talent line up on this first opening weekend of college football that Florida State has to match Alabama in a one-off. And we can talk about the depth that all that elite recruiting brings about Alabama year in and year out. They have that advantage over everybody that they face. But in a one-off, as I said before, in a one-off, that talent of depth doesn't seem to matter all that much. Can your 22, by and large, match and win the day against their 22? Week 4, week 5, week 6, after injuries have accumulated, that depth is usually enough to separate Alabama from the rest of college football. But in week 1, maybe not as much.
From a betting standpoint, this game is way too volatile, and there are a lot of games in week 1, week 2 that you want to jump on, and you know, you think you know something, or maybe you got a clue. that Vegas doesn't have quite yet. But just there's too much talent on the field right now.
Yeah,
for either side, and then inconsistencies in the special teams, both
Man,
coaching staffs.
I don't like to mess with my Noles either, man. I come around. 2013, I bet them every week after they revealed what they were to me, and Vegas was slow on the uptick to kind of understand that this wasn't just a good team. This was a beat your ass team. I need to know what this team is before I go all in on those wagers. And also, one thing about Vegas, and we'll do a Redemption Thursday this Thursday, and we got plenty of time to talk about that aspect. But the thing about Vegas early is you can take advantage of them when they aren't sure what a team is, especially a middling sort of 17th, 18th ranked type team that might be underranked, or one that's a little overranked around 11, 10, or 9, somewhere like that. In the past, I've taken advantage of, for whatever reason, the annual overranking of a Wisconsin or a Georgia or a Texas A&M or a UCLA. But I think that all of that said, well, you don't want to waste opportunities to take advantage of maybe an oversight by Vegas. When you have this talent like you're referencing on the field in week 1, this isn't one you really touch.
No, and again, yeah, it's just the first game of the season. There's a lot of moving parts to this particular game, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be wildly entertaining. And, I heard Ira's thoughts last hour when you talked to Irish a fellow War Chant, and he said, I think it's going to live up to the hype from an entertainment standpoint. If it's not sloppy, then I think it's got a chance to, because this could be a really physical game. I mean, a lot of times, and you pointed this out too earlier, bowl games. This has a feel of a bowl game or a playoff type game in the way that it's hyped. There's no doubt about that. It's being hyped as though it's taking place in January and not in September. But some bowl games, some of those postseason games, you don't have the same level of will on either sideline. This one's got all of those things. It's got all the makings, because if you win this game, when it comes down time to politic for the playoff committee, you have just another chip in your hand.
It's probably the ultimate chip, yeah, is that you played and won a game like this against that team, so long as they go on to have a great year, which they do annually. I thought today, Jimbo Fisher, for recap purposes, he gave his press conference. He's not going to meet with the press tonight after practice. Did today in the middle of the afternoon, 1 o'clock, and really sounded like a guy that was trying to strike a tone of being level and even keel, a guy that really didn't want to go all in on the hype and magnitude of this game, because I think he's trying to settle his group down. I think both coaches will actively be doing that. I think they're going to downplay, even though they both have already recognized on the record and off how big a game this is. They also don't want their kids to be spent emotionally. The adrenaline that comes with a game like this is already tough to govern. So I think you'll hear that whenever they speak this week to ESPN or any other interviews they may do on SiriusXM, whatever it might be. I think you'll hear the tone be that of really level-headed.
Here's what's interesting, though, and you brought it up, talking about what is this team? Is it a beat-your-ass team? How tough is this group?
Well, remember, by the way, as an aside, 2013, we kind of dubbed, once we really realized what Jameis was, that it was the revenge tour. I talked about it every week. It was the revenge tour for all the times during the lost decade that they kicked us in the face on the way out to their car and found us in a state of stupor. And I used the analogy of the guy that had one too many at the bar and took a comfy seat out in the parking lot, and Wake Forest walked by and kicked, and Boston College walked by and kicked, and teams that had no business walking by and kicking did exactly that. And it was our time to rise up. We had gotten clean. We were okay. We were ready to soar yet again, yes.
Yeah, Wake Forest was practicing WWE finishing moves on our corpse.
It was crazy.
The leg drop, people's elbow.
All kinds of stuff. Suplexing us in the alley. It was embarrassing.
Tombstone.
Right. No, but see, we knew that team had a chance to avenge all of that. I don't know yet what this team is, because last year's team betrayed our confidence and betrayed the head coach's confidence too, in that he thought they were one thing, they turned out to be another. They righted the ship halfway through and into the season on a fantastic run. You'd like to believe that the carryover will be in effect Saturday night in Atlanta, and that you'll get a team that is much more disciplined, much more focused, much more reliable, series in and series out, certainly defensively, than that team was that began the season a year ago.
Agreed on all fronts. I just wonder if the nature of this game will be nasty. There are times when two great teams can be on the field at the same time, and they're trying to win, but there's not that extra element.
How could it not be, though, Tom? I mean, I think
that's where the hype, I think, plays into what we're going to see. The players feel it. They do, and the coaches have to keep them down.
The whole world's watching. If you like football even a little bit, you're watching that game.
Sure.
And they know that.
Go back to playing in Atlanta in a different building just a couple short years ago, and Houston. Remember how Houston was, that game for the Peach Bowl?
Sure, they cared very, very deeply.
Versus what we were?
Well,
on offense. How about the offense?
Yeah, sure.
Listless, especially the offensive
early
line.
on, yeah.
Oh, boy, were they listless. Man, but this one you already have the will to win because it matters so greatly for what your season is going to look like, what arguments you can make for the playoff committee. But then the players hear and feel the hype, and they want to make statements. So I think that's the other element. Does it have the nasty, I've got to separate you two all night long feel? Are the officials going to have to get in between players yapping at each other? Is there going to be the extracurriculars? Are there going to be, flags for unsportsmanlike? What is this going to take? What turn is this going to take? Florida and Florida State, Miami and Florida State. You're used to these things. Even Clemson and Florida State, to a degree, we're going down that path. But a neutral site game between two non-traditional rivals, yet it has all this hype, is it going to translate? Are you going to have that extra element to it? I think we are.
I believe so. I believe elite-level athletes, elite-level players who immediately garner the respect of those across from them, which both these two teams will, seek to dominate in lots of ways to prove their athletic prowess and dominance and team superiority. One of them is certainly mentally. Another one is physical. And I think the way that you establish that early in a game sets the tone for the rest of the game. So I think you'll see some nastiness early. And I don't mean cheap shots. I just mean shots delivered, messages sent, as it should be in a game of this caliber. I know when I sit from afar and my team's not involved in one of these games and I'm watching, whether it's Clemson, Alabama in the national championship game a year ago or any other marquee matchup, I look for that as part of the fun element. I mean, I thought last year, I thought early in the game, Clemson and Auburn, in the game at Auburn, you knew early that it actually was going to be kind of a defensive-minded game, and Auburn had a little something to say about how they were going to play a different brand of defense this year, and they were seeking to send that message and did early in that football game.
Yeah, just once again, I mean, you could have a great football game featuring great athletes who are physical within the game, but it doesn't have that extra element to it.
I found that percentage, by the way. Last hour I was talking some, and I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again later, but just in terms of passes down the field, how you want to try to take Jalen Hurts' security blanket away. You got to stop him as a runner because he's so good at it. He ran the ball 12, 13 times a game last year, almost double what we asked DeAndre Francois to run. But also all the underneath passes, the stuff behind the line of scrimmage, the safe passes. That some people describe that as an extension of the run. But I was telling you that under pressure, he really struggled. And then the other factor was getting the ball down the field with accuracy consistently, something that Alabama fans specifically need to see that he is better at. And Nick Saban wants to see him be better at because he wants to incorporate those more pro-style elements. Well, he completed 42% of his passes that were at least 10 yards down the field last year. That's terrible.
Straight up, when you have that running game to consider too, and you're using RPOs to your advantage, think about all the things that they implement that we don't. I mean, if Bo Scarborough's in the backfield and you can run an RPO up the seam, you should be able to complete, say, I don't know, 60, 65% of your passes.
42% of passes that went 10 yards more down the field. And that's terrible.
And you are that much more talented across the board than your opponents on a week-to-week basis. That's the other thing. If it's the NFL, sometimes, you're Alabama and you're playing you're the Patriots and you're playing the rest of the league.
And again, he was a freshman, so he'll get better. And Lane Kiffin, you go read Bill Connolly's review of this game and these two teams and their season previews. He'll talk about how Lane Kiffin really stressed once he recognized that his quarterback wasn't going to throw the ball accurately down the field to the rate that they'd like. He really stressed, horizontally, stressing defenses.
And they came one possession away from winning a national title doing just that.
And if Clemson doesn't run 99 plays, they do. And that's, so many fun factors, so many elements of this game. I do think, by the way, and something we haven't talked about, and it seems like a no-brainer, but just because we haven't seen him in basically a year, I feel the need to reiterate something. And in talking with him, I believe this, and sitting across from him, I really do believe this, and just in the way that Jimbo has described it too, I think Derwin James is going to have a huge game Saturday night. I think he is going to stand out in the way that he's been described, talked about, and preseason hyped more than Jabril Peppers did for Michigan, certainly. I believe you'll see Derwin James back up the hype in this game. I only worry. I hope he doesn't try to do too much in his first game back because, obviously, the kid loves to play football. He's got an infectious attitude. He's nasty. He's tenacious. He's all those things. He can't wait to get back on that football field. Sometimes you can be a little too eager and not let the game come to you. But I really hope that if he, given what I think we're going to try to do with him early in this game, with Marshall out, he could have a huge, huge day and truly live up to the hype in a way that he might not get the opportunity to the rest of the year. Now, he'll be a factor if he's on the field every week. That's a given. But what I think they can utilize him in here against like athletes and how he can be the difference in this football game, I really think he'll be huge. And just talking with him, seeing the kind of shape he's in, the focus that he had, it's unbelievable.
One thing I'll go back to quickly, and this is from the 2015 season when the defense was really, really good, and the talking point was, well, see what happens. Maybe Charles Kelly isn't dumb after all. Maybe he knows how to coach.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when you have players who care to play, you can be an elite defense. I get that the tables turned once again last year. I go back to that Clemson game and the way we schemed up the Clemson game on the road and how confused the quarterback was.
Schemed it up pretty well here last year, not to start, but
Right.
as the game wore on.
As the game wore on, and that was in the better half of the season, which is good because that type of offense gives us trouble, but we did win our fair share of battles.
Yeah.
This quarterback isn't as good of a thrower as Deshaun Watson, and it's not even close.
No.
So the one thing, while people are worried about the weakness of the defense, we have in the past against, top-flight quarterbacks who use their legs, schemed up enough ways to confuse the quarterback. And if he really is looking down the field more than he is looking around the line of scrimmage, all right, I like our chances in this case. As long as everybody lines up where they're supposed
Tom's
to.
calling for a blowout, folks.
No, I'm not. No. Hell to the no. No, sir.
It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Neese Tire and Auto Service. Neese has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Neese Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Neese Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You put your mower through a lot. All that back and forth can add up to thousands of miles. That's like mowing cross country. Gravely commercial mowers are built for all-day performance, helping you get the job done mile after mile. Gravely, built to mow the distance.
Get your Gravely motor only at TNT Supercenter, your one-stop shop for work or play. 14585 Highway 19 South, Thomasville, Georgia. TNTSupercenter.com.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough. I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
I'm talking tough.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Hendrick.
Ladies and gentlemen, start your savings. Race into Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC for the best selection and service in Tallahassee. Get incredible discounts on racetrack-worthy vehicles like $10,000 off select new Buicks and GMCs. We are professional grade. And that's not all. We've got a huge used car inventory, so you can find a quality pre-owned vehicle to fit any budget. We even offer low payments and exceptional offers like 0% APR financing. Hassle? No way. Haggle? Never. ever. At Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC, you'll deal with people you know, like, and trust, and get the honest, friendly service you deserve. That's why our customers will tell you there's no better car buying experience in town. Visit us today at 1850 Capitol Circle Northeast or online at DaleJr.BuickGMC.com. And remember, you too can be a Hendrick driver.
Don't just listen to The Jeff Cameron Show. Watch it live. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Live weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. Head to ESPNTallahassee.com today to watch live or catch up on demand. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Brought to you by Nice Tire and Auto, your trusted Goodyear dealer. 574-4100. And presented by TNT Supercenter in Thomasville, Georgia. And Franklin Spring Creek Ford.
At Whole Foods Market, we believe in real food. Food that's full of nutrients, naturally vivid and colorful, fresh and delicious. Food that connects you to your body, to the seasons, and to the natural world. We believe food should nourish you and help you think. It should help you feel calm, clear-headed, and strong. It should help you do more, sleep better, and wake up happier. That's food that lives up to its name. We believe in real food. Whole Foods Market.
And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl because we're the
Houston Oilers. Houston Oilers.
Hey, watch
Houston Oilers all the way.
Jeff, I will fight you.
Houston Oilers. That's their song. Why?
No. First of all, they never went to a Super Bowl. It's our song. We're the only undefeated team.
Oh,
we're the only one that takes the ball goal to goal like no one's ever seen.
You and the rest of Miami holding on to the past, my friend. But you know what? September the 10th, it's on. Tampa Bay at Miami.
Not a chance. You know what that first loss feels like every year because you've never gone undefeated.
Houston Oilers.
All right, let's go. Dry-aged ribeye steaks. What do you say?
I'm in. Let's bet.
It's on.
Is Bumpa's going to be open yet?
Shh, Jeff. They don't know about that one yet.
It's coming soon. All right, Bucks.
Let's go fish.
Good times. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Attention all business owners, it's here. 97.9 ESPN Radio has developed the Triple Play, Tallahassee's most effective advertising campaign. The Triple Play combines radio, TV, and the internet, and it's brought to you only by Tallahassee's #1 sports station.
Hi, I'm Travis Kelly, account executive here at 97.9 ESPN Radio. Call me at 561-8400 right now to find out more about the Triple Play advertising campaign and begin growing your business. It's football season. Everybody's listening. Call me, Travis Kelly, at 561-8400 to partner your business with Tallahassee Sports Monster.
You're locked in with the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I didn't know this, Tom. Florida State has never beaten the AP #1 team away from Doak Campbell Stadium. 0-5 against the AP's top team in road or neutral site games. The Noles' only win of any kind against an AP #1 opponent came at home in the 96 finale against Florida game I was at. Florida was afforded a rematch, which they never would have been under the current system or any sense of reason. That said, I wonder how many teams or people have a road victory against the #1 team in the country on the ledger. Not too many.
Well, yeah, that's like saying, and to a greater degree, really. Well, look at this quarterback's numbers in the playoffs. They're just not as good as his career numbers.
Going against pretty good teams there.
Oh, really? In the playoffs, he's worse? Why? How could that be?
Jimbo Fisher, who obviously coached with Nick Saban at LSU from 2000 through 2004, gets a shot at Nick. And Saban, by the way, all-time 10-0 against his former assistant coaches, with each win coming by at least 14 points or more. Now, that is just a little nugget. Little nuggets we'll be sprinkling in there all week long. Doesn't mean anything. I know this is a new game, new team, all that. But
that's more useful. That's a little bit more useful. You know,
well, it's a damn, man.
I mean, he is going against, presumably, a few of his assistants who have become head coaches at lesser universities. So that's going to account for some. But there's also probably the point to be made that he knows the idiosyncrasies of those coaches, and he knows how to exploit their weaknesses and strengths.
Well, look, here at the end of the day, it's not staggering to see all these negative statistics for coaches, teams, or any other university that you can name having poor records against Alabama and Nick Saban. Nick Saban in his 11th year is 119-19. He has 100 more wins than losses at Alabama. He is 119-19. He does, and that first year, they was 5, 6. I mean, they were terrible. So I mean, outside of year one when we beat them over in Jacksonville, he just doesn't lose a lot of games. He has been arguably the greatest college football coach in the history of the game. So the numbers are never going to be favorable for anybody.
Let's go make him a complete failure. That'll be 2 losses in a row, and he'll only be 99 wins better than the loss count, you know? So let's just go make him a completely overrated failure.
The reason the hype around this game is the way that it is stems from this. Florida State and Alabama are the only 2 programs in all of college football that have played in at least 5 straight BCS/New Year's Bowl, 6 bowl games. Only 2. Florida State has played in the 2013 Orange Bowl, 2014 BCS National Championship, 2015 Rose Bowl, 2015 Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, 2016 Orange Bowl. Alabama appeared in 6 straight BCS New Year's 6 Bowl just last year. It's remarkable. And I think the other thing added to it is what? Jimbo's 9-1 against the SEC. I think now, right? 9-1.
Oh, he dispatches of the SEC.
Well, I'm just saying, though. I mean, many of those are against Florida, whom he owns. But yeah, 9-1. So, I mean, yeah, he's got the win over Auburn, obviously, for the national title. Beat South Carolina to boot. Yeah.
Should we bring back the daily confidence level? Because I feel like it's much higher for you than it was, say, this time last week.
It is higher. I do feel better, and for a number of reasons. I think it's been interesting to kind of glean what you can from reports out of Tuscaloosa. I don't get the sense that there is overwhelming confidence. Now, you're never going to feel great uncertainty at Alabama. You just have too many good players. And also it's the league's not nearly as good as it once was. So if you don't believe me, relative to Alabama's success, all you got to do is look at Alabama's record against the rest of the SEC over the last several years. Look at what that total is, and look at what the average score has been. Alabama has not just dispatched to the rest of the SEC. Alabama has beaten that ass. I mean, it's been embarrassing. So they're going to have a great year, irrespective of what happens here. They're going to have a great year, but I don't get the sense that for all of the greatness that Alabama has produced, and it's inarguable, that the people who cover Alabama for much of this success, or the vast majority of Saban's time, I don't get the sense that they feel like this is one of the stronger teams that he's had. In fact, the opposite seems to be true. You get the sense that maybe they're not as confident going into this season as they have been in the vast majority of the years under Nick, save for year one.
The daily confidence level.
Wait, what are we gauging it as here? You want me to do this on a Monday?
Well, it's the daily confidence level. We can check in once a day, or we could use it for the guests throughout the week, too.
The daily confidence level. A victory? Is it a victory?
Of we ain't leaving without a victory. Are we putting a smile on our face, my brother?
All right, Jameis. 5. I'll put it at a 4 or
That's
5.
Great.
4 or 5 right now.
That's progress.
That's right in the middle. 5-ish, Tom.
You were at a 1 a week ago.
I'm feeling. Yeah, I was. I was at if I was at a negative number, I was that. I was there. I was really there. I was in the dumps. 4.5. Not quite 5 yet. I may convince myself of a 6 before the week's up. Go high stepping into this thing. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
When you're in need of auto repairs, look no further than Nice Tire and Auto Service. Nice has been in business for 16 years with long-term, knowledgeable sales associates. They have the latest wheel balancing machine in the industry. And for passenger vehicles, they service AC, brakes, suspension, tune-ups, and much more. Never sit through a long wait. Nice Tire and Auto has 10 service bays to get you back on the road quickly. If you have tire problems, check out their large inventory with various Goodyear and Michelin tires. Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, 574-4100.
You can tell a lot about a tractor by its warranty. That's why Mahindra makes the toughest tractors on earth. With steel, not plastic. Backed by the industry's best limited powertrain warranty, period. Not 5 years, not 6 years, but a full 7 years on select models. No wonder the other guys are green with envy.
No money down, 0% interest, and no payments until July. Available at TNT Supercenter.
I'm talking tough, like a state of mind. Tough, like a soldier on the front line. Tough when it gets rough, like my Ford truck. Always enough, I'm talking tough.
Franklin Spring Creek Ford, the place to find your next truck in southern Georgia.
Hey y'all, we're Chris and Preston from Low Cash. Head to Franklin Spring Creek Ford and see them about all of your vehicle needs.
Metro Deli is locally owned and features the best deli meats, cheeses, breads, and ingredients in the city. Enjoy daily specials and soups, salads, and wraps. There's something for everyone. Metro Deli offers online ordering for pickup or delivery and will cater your office breakfast or lunch too. Tallahassee's perfect lunch spot is Metro Deli. MetroDeliTally.com. That's MetroDeliTally.com.
At Progressive, we think your floral boutique is the bee's knees. In fact, it's all the bee's knees in every hive of bees in all the trees from here to Belize. Please. Everyone agrees. You deserve the expertise of Progressive Business Insurance, with over 40 years of experience helping busy bees and their knees glide with ease like a gentle breeze. So whether you're a worker bee, a queen, or none of these, buzz over to progressivecommercial.com if you please. Faster than a bee's knees as he pollinates the leaves of 3 trees. Progressive Casualty Insurance and Affiliates.
Charlie is all over the place. He's so unorganized. How do I get him to be more responsible with his academics? I've tried everything.
Hi, I'm Lance Davis. Let Engaged Academics help your child learn how to work through these common issues. Visit engagedacademics.org for more information. That's engagedacademics.org.
Hello there. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I've got 22 houses, 3 golf courses, and 4 boats big enough to be houses. Government's shut down if I forget to pay my taxes. Hey, we're broke. My 2 cents are worth millions. My checkbook is the most wished-for item on Amazon.
I want it!
When I tip at restaurants, the waitstaff retires.
Yeah!
But how did I do it all? That's my little secret.
Courier service, here's your big fat check from mybookie.ag.
I'm kind of doing a thing here.
Stop pretending it's a secret. Anyone can win on mybookie.ag. With 50% cash bonuses, great odds, and fast payouts, mybookie.ag is a no-brainer.
Listen, kid, how much will it cost for you to be quiet?
How much you got?
Try your luck today at mybookie.ag and use promo code RADIO.
I'm Fred Conrad, and I'm a criminal defense lawyer. I believe your freedom is too important to trust to an inexperienced lawyer. For over 20 years, I've successfully defended those accused of DUI, drug offenses, and a host of other misdemeanor and felony offenses. My office is located in my hometown, and as a third-generation Tallahassee native, former local prosecutor, and law enforcement instructor, I have the skills and experience necessary to handle your case. When you call my office, you will talk to me, and I'll personally handle your case. So don't blow it. Call me at 222-4005 or go to fredconrad.com.
Live from the Dale Earnhardt Jr. Buick GMC Cadillac Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Man Cave Monday, brought to you by Experamac of Tallahassee. Experamac, Tallahassee's trusted tech source for Apple. Stop in at 346 South Magnolia Drive or call at 765-2012 today.
All right. So the first one's in. I hate to race through the week. I hate to, hey, can we just go ahead and skip to Friday and let's go? But, I mean, who's kidding who, right? We kind of want to do that. There's only so many ways you can talk about Florida State, Alabama again and again and again. And it's got us all on edge. It's got us all pumped up. But there's 3 hours each day, and there are other items that just don't feel all that important to me. Those other items. So it's hard to do a convincing sort of, hey, let's deviate for a second here. Yeah, you don't care about that stuff.
No, let's talk about this game for one more week. I'm happy to talk about the game because it's here. There's going to be news coming out of camp.
Week. Yeah.
But let's get to the plane. I like when we play these games and the sequence and the context of what happens before helps inform the discussion ahead. But
I may have mentioned it earlier in the show. Well, I didn't. That's disingenuous. I did mention it earlier in the show. And maybe it's the influence of the football wins. How early did you get up this morning? I didn't ask you.
I got up
early, right?
7:40.
That's good work out of you.
Yeah.
I was up at...
I actually felt lazy for that.
Good. You're coming around. I got up at 5:45. That's a little earlier than I normally do. I had a bad dream. You know how I know it's football week? Jackaroot was pissed at me in my dream. Jackaroot. I don't picture Jackaroot getting mad at anybody. Apparently, in my dream, I'm doing this interview with Jackaroot about the start of college football season and how, how many seasons he's worked on sidelines and all this. And in my dream, I told him, hey, Jack, you and I shared a drink together before the Florida State-Auburn game in the national championship. And I misidentified in the dream where we were. I told him it was in Tempe, in Phoenix. And he goes, no, I didn't. I wasn't out in Tempe then. And I go, so he was arguing with me on semantics. He knew I damn well meant California, Newport. And I go, no, Jack, you were playing the little game there, the shoot 'em game with the deer and all that. And I introduced myself, and he goes, nope, wasn't in Tempe. Wasn't there. And I start to get angry, but I'm the one who's misspeaking about where we were, and he's holding me to it. And I finally go, well, that's ridiculous, Jack. I was there. I got a picture. I'll send you the picture. And then the producer gets in my ear, because on Sirius, they get in your ear and they'll talk to you. And he goes, that game wasn't there, Jeff. You're wrong. You're upsetting Mr. Arute. Like, he's upset with me. He goes, this is bad radio. You need to wrap it up. And I'm getting yelled at. And then all of a sudden it hits me. I meant to say California, the Rose Bowl. And I was tossing and turning. I like almost sat up. I was that upset about I upset Jackaroot this morning. How ridiculous. Like, I wouldn't have even cared in real life.
He upset a lot of people out in Orange County because he wasn't giving up that game.
No, he wouldn't.
And there were
That's a true story. That's for people that don't know, that actually happened.
No,
as far as him playing that game.
He played that for hours. He'd just get refill after refill at the bar, and he'd play that game for hours, and people would stand there, do like the hovering 5-minute thing, like, hey, can I work in here? Can I get a game going?
You've been on there for a little while there, Jack.
Look at that. You died. You're out of lives.
And then he would just grab the tokens and put it
continue on.
You're like, Jack, there are other people waiting. That's what that stack of quarters is, my man. But he was old, and that's what happens.
That's all he wanted to do.
He just wanted to sit there and play that shoot 'em game.
And he had the vest on. He had a dark blue vest on.
It was ridiculous, yeah. So that was my dream this morning. But anyhow, that led to this. That led to me waking up. I mean, you know how it is. If you wake up 15 minutes before your alarm goes off, you might as well get up, because the falling back asleep moment, right when you, that's the worst. So I got up, started the coffee, kind of gathered myself, started to prepare what I was going to make the kids for breakfast. And then I went outside, and, Tom, it was there. I almost called you. I literally almost called you to tell you to take a step outside.
Well,
it was there.
We got a sneak preview last night because we were here doing a little bit extra prep.
We were, yeah.
And when we walked outside,
it was nice.
If you
one little spot, it was nice.
If you stood right at the top step outside the front of our office, it felt noticeable. I don't know that it felt nice yet, but it felt noticeable that something was different.
All right, so the other thing I was going to say is I do feel better this week about the game than I did last.
Oh, geez, he's come around. All right.
I do feel better about the game this week than I did last, and that's really honest. And I'm trying to be honest, and I know that doesn't seem like oh, sure, Cameron, last week you wanted to rile us up, and now you're coming around to our way of thinking. It's been an interesting camp for Alabama. The more you check in with folks from Alabama and the more you read, and then, of course, the stuff that you got from last night. I mean, you start to, what's going on in Alabama? Everything all right over there? I mean, we could find out in the worst possible way Saturday night. We could find out that everything's A-okay.
We're going to find out what's been going on in Tuscaloosa one way or the other. That's the good news. This Saturday is actually the game.
Let me tell you what my fear is here at the end of the show. My fear is this. I'm starting to suspect, this is that gut feeling stuff. I'm starting to suspect we come out and play well early, really early. We look like the better football team early in this game. I really do think Florida State's going to come out playing well, looking sharp, playing very good on defense. I think it's going to feel like we have all the momentum. But here is what's true of Nick Saban in Alabama, and we know this, and I brought this stat up last week about, first of all, they don't lose a lot of games under Nick Saban. But the ones they have lost, it ain't been by much. You go back through and look, they're always in it. They always have a chance to win. Every game they lose, they're there in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. They've pretty much only lost in heartbreaking fashion when it's happened. It's been some stunning moment like the kick six or a last-second touchdown in the national championship game. They haven't had these games where people have just lined up and beat their ass. If they did have a game that started that way, they always come back. And I think that's what this game's going to be. I think Florida State's going to start off the way I feel about it today as we conclude Monday's show. I feel like we're going to start well. Florida State's going to start well, and this game's going to be ripe for the picking. There it is. We're going to halftime. A whole lot of slapping five with the garnet and gold. A whole lot of people feeling good about where we're at. But it's going to also feel a little tenuous. You're going to go, really should be up by more than 10 here. Really should be up by more than 10. And I like the way we're playing, but 17-7, gosh, if they score early in this second half, it's a 3-point game, then what? And then the fourth quarter, and it's go time.
Man, you're playing it out. You're doing it.
I have it in my mind.
That's the fully invested Jeff Cameron talking right there.
I felt that way this morning, sipping coffee, taking the place of reading the morning paper, reading the internet. Missed the morning paper. Anyhow, that said, there I was sipping coffee thinking, man, I like the way this game's going to start. I just do. I don't know, though, because that's what Alabama does. They get back in games. Maybe I'll have a different feeling tomorrow. I don't know. I don't think so. I think my brain is starting to wrap itself around this game for real now. It's because it is here. It's right here. And as hard as this is to do, we got to do it. Our respects to baseball. Fire it up.
It's time for, how you say, with the pitching, probables?
See, Tom was rusty on the baseball. He wasn't ready for it. He's yelling at the computer now. I can't repeat what he just said to the computer. You hurt the computer's feelings.
The computer is hurt by baseball, I guess.
Braves, Phillies, Lucas Sims, Aaron Nola, Indians, Yankees, Corey Kluber, Luis Severino. Marlins, Nats, Jose Urena, Max Scherzer. All right. Mariners, Orioles, we got Marco Gonzalez and Chris Tillman. Sox, Jays, Drew Pomeranz, Marcus Stroman. Pirates, Cubs, Trevor Williams, Mike Montgomery. At the end of the line. Rays, Royals, Austin Pruitt, Ian Kennedy. Tigers, Rockies, Jordan Zimmerman, Antonio Cinzatella, I think. A's, Angels, Daniel Gossett, Andrew Heaney. Giants, Padres, Jeff Samardzija. Chacin on the hill for the Padres. And that is a look at those that shall reside on the bump.
As long as you got someone to lay, well, it's all right. Every day is Judgment Day.
We would like to have an opportunity now to welcome in our newest sponsor, and this I'm very, very excited about. If you would, go ahead, cue it up, Tom.
It's time for What's on Tap, brought to you by Proof Brewing Company. So, Jeff, what are we having today?
Well, I don't know what I'm going to do tonight for sure because, Tom, I'm like you, and we do want to thank our friends from Proof for jumping on board here. But I do have to tell you that I'm kind of torn between watching a documentary that I have saved on my list on Netflix, while I can, because it's all football all the time once we get really going.
Man, by Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, and there are a number that I want to watch that I've saved, and one of them is anyhow, I won't get into all that, but I want to watch a documentary, but I also feel the need. I feel very, very pressured at this point to go all in every night this week in watching Bama games. And I know you and I were talking about this before we started the segment off the air. We were just talking about how this is now you want to look at other high-profile talents that have faced Alabama, meaning athlete for athlete.
Yeah, Auburn would be a good one. I remember catching that in passing when they were doing the countdown of top 25 games of the year. SEC Network had it on. I mean, Alabama only had, 13 points into the second half. So that's a game where, at least defensively speaking, you can see what happens when Alabama is pushed from an offensive standpoint. Because I don't buy it. I really don't think they're going to go pro-style this week. This is not the time to do so.
Well, and conversely, who was the last pro-style offense that beat Alabama? See, that's the other way to look at this. It's that same LSU team,
sure,
and it was 9-6. You think we're holding Alabama to 6? So this is what you get into here. You know what I mean? The last pro-style offensive team.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that was in Tuscaloosa, I believe.
Does that predate the switch from AM to FM?
I just think that, that you're right. On the one hand, you can look at teams that have like talent on a given night, and you'll notice that Alabama doesn't fare as well. It stands to reason when you're going talent for talent. That's true. But then offensively, what offense plays the same style we do that has been able to beat Alabama? That's the problem. Clemson beat Alabama on the final series of the game, final play of the game, basically, and they ran 99 plays to do it. We're not going to run our quarterback the way Clemson ran Deshaun Watson. Our quarterback's not Deshaun Watson. Our offensive line, that Clemson offensive line was really good. So you can do the negative thing here. You can say, well, we're not going to play the way we need to play. The way these teams that have given them trouble and beat them play, we don't play that way. So that's a problem. But then I will say, I think our defense this year, and again, Charles Kelly, I'm going to need you to live up to what we have on the field in terms of getting the most out of really good athletes. He's got a ton of them. If they do, and the defense is great, and I think it can be, then you give yourself a chance.
And if you want to be positive for a moment, you pound your chest and you say, well, Alabama doesn't see teams like us with the offense that we run at the level
in the
that
SEC.
we run it. You know what I mean? Yeah, the SEC doesn't have a Jimbo Fisher-type head coach that Alabama's going to see on any given year who runs an offense like we do, who has an offensive mind like Jimbo Fisher does.
Yeah.
So at the same time, while
so this is why you want to go back and watch these things.
Yeah, you roll out the footballs and you want to play up-tempo or slow-tempo, Alabama's likely going to win that football game. The Jameis Winston clip, they're most likely going to win that football game. But at the same time, we do bring a unique identity to the game of college football. That's what's so cool about being this university is we don't run a spread that 5 other schools run. We don't run a pro style that only has one concept to under center, 2 backs in the eye, and we're running right at you.
Right.
We do a lot of things. So, while Alabama has, only suffered defeats to Clemson and LSU from those polar opposites of the spectrum, we're everything at all times. And that's got to be a headache for Jeremy Pruitt to get ready for.
I could also just watch Ozark or Ozarks or whatever that is.
What the hell is that?
Yeah, it's what's his name? Jason Bateman, I think. Yeah, it's supposed to be really, really good.
Oh, yeah?
It looks good.
Is he like a snarky character again?
Not at all. No, it looks like evil. It looks terrible.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
No, I hear it's awesome.
Oh,
Everybody
okay.
says it's a Netflix original. It's supposed to be good.
Okay.
I may watch that tonight and then go all in on Bama tomorrow. I'm not sure. It's a season. It's season 1 of a show. I'm kind of interested in watching that. I'm not real sure. Our thanks to Proof Brewing Company for coming on board to sponsor What's on Tap. Proof Brewing Company, and for the table hospitality present, the 5th annual Florida Tap Invitational, September 29th and 30th. One of North Florida's largest 2-day beer festivals. That's always a really good thing. VIP and general admission tickets are available online at FloridaTapInvitational.com. All right, that's a good thing.
5th annual already for that stuff. It's unbelievable, the craft beer industry in Tallahassee.
It's explosive. It's everywhere. One's popping up left and right. It makes me smile ear to ear. This was something we were on board with a number of years ago.
Yes.
And I liked the trend. I liked to see the direction it was going. You visit other cities, places like Asheville, and you got to figure those hippies are getting after it. And they are, but in more ways than one. But Tallahassee's kind of adapting. It's nicely done.
No, there was a time when the only thing you could get was, a 420. That was the only beer that would be on tap. Now it's, hey, how about this one from Tallahassee? How about Proof from Tallahassee? How about that one from Tallahassee?
That's good too, yeah. And even the ones just outside of Tallahassee, just like right on the edge of town. Beach communities.
Good job, society.
Bravo, everybody. We're doing all right. We're failing in a lot of ways, but we're really kicking ass in the beer world. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Another day closer, friends. Hang in there. Talk to you tomorrow.